And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Sarah wants a yard.
My own little paradise.
Brad, however, hates yard work.
The only thing I hate more than cutting the grass is paying someone to cut the grass.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Sarah and Brad found a great home with a yard. A very, very small yard.
Time to get it done. And I'm done.
Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
And welcome into the Thursday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Hope everybody is doing well. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Great. Might be the biggest contrast yet between outdoor temp and indoor temp at this time of day.
I told you yesterday, there's going to come a day in this studio where we manufacture our own thunderstorm. And it could be today, just with the different warm fronts and cold fronts that we've got flowing in here at all times. Chase McCabe from some control room somewhere is trying to kill us, freeze us out in here. It's beautiful.
We got serious indoor climate change going on here.
We do. It's unbelievable. Nick, how we doing?
I don't know about climate change.
Looks a little warmer back in your place.
Me. No, I'm right underneath a vent that is pumping out all of the cold air that you are experiencing as well, Robby. So good morning.
Keeps you awake, I guess.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Have you gotten used to your new sleep schedule yet?
Honestly, yeah, I have. The last couple of days have not been that bad waking up.
Look at you.
Nice.
Nick's already figured it out.
Yep.
That's why you're the executive producer here on this program.
Yep. Just stay hydrated, drink some coffee, go to sleep on time.
That's right.
It's all good.
That's right.
It's all good.
It sounds easy.
We got a lot to get to on the program here today. David Ubben from The Athletic will drop by at 7:30. We'll get into all things college football with him. Looking forward to that. SEC Media Days coming up next week here in Nashville. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our weekly visit with him from 8 to 8:30, getting into all things NFL. So looking forward to that. And, Joe, I'm sure one of the things that we'll talk about is the never-ending DeAndre Hopkins saga at this point, and another twist, kind of, sort of, taken yesterday in the DeAndre Hopkins front. Apparently, 2 days ago, so I guess Tuesday, the Titans were at plus 500 odds to land DeAndre Hopkins, and the betting odds shifted yesterday to minus 300 for the Titans to land DeAndre Hopkins. So a lot of Titans Twitter yesterday was like, well, that can't be a coincidence. Something has to have happened here for the betting odds to have switched that much. But that's quite a dramatic shift in one day in the betting odds from plus 500 to minus 300 on the Tennessee Titans to land DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also threatening to poke at that nerve of mine, which is Vegas always knows. Now, Vegas sometimes knows. Sometimes there's inside information, injury information, whatever it is, and a line changes dramatically, and you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. What's happening here? Sometimes some weirdo on the internet says, Will Levis's family, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden the odds go completely, and the odds go crazy for Will Levis to go number one, and it was total BS.
Correct.
So I think this is related to Michael Lombardi's podcast the other day. I think that's what it is. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it's a foregone conclusion. There's inside information somewhere out there in a sports book, and it's just everything but the announcement is done. I think it's Lombardi, what he said on his podcast, which is basically that the Titans are the favorite.
Right.
I mean, to paraphrase, right? I mean, basically that's what he said.
Yeah.
And he laid out why, and it's good reasoning, and I think he's right. And then I think a lot of people, kind of ran with that, and I think that's what affected this. Again, you're trying to get, betting on both sides of something and et cetera, et cetera. It is pretty dramatic, though. I will say that.
It's dramatic. Now, I will say, like I always try to remind people in these discussions, when odds change like that, it's Vegas and the sports books reacting to money coming in. It's not because DeAndre Hopkins has walked into whatever sports book is like, hey, guys,
be, yeah.
I'm signing with the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
Don't tell anybody. And the odds shift after that.
Well, yeah. Well,
or
yes
information
and no.
comes out.
Yeah. I mean, the odds can.
I mean, there's nothing that's come out on DeAndre Hopkins that would cause a shift that dramatic without some money coming in. I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That's the thing. It's like, I mean, there are things that happen, right? Like if a sports book sees, Aaron Rodgers is out for the Jets and Zach Wilson starting this Sunday, the line will move. The money doesn't have to lead the line movement, right? So, but you're right. I mean, a lot of times it's that too. Maybe it's a tandem of a combination of those things. Maybe it just means I heard Jared and Chase talking yesterday, and Chase was like, announcement coming. I bet you it's at 5:00 today. So maybe that's happening soon. I am gonna bet that it's gonna be the same thing that it's been, and it's gonna be a while, at least a little while, and that the line it'll probably settle back down a little bit.
Probably so,
but we'll see.
Well, look, I think it makes sense at this moment for the Titans to be the favorite. I mean, right now we know of two teams that are in the mix. It's the Titans and the Patriots. We've gone through the list of reasons ad nauseum why I think the Titans are a better fit for DeAndre Hopkins than the Patriots are. So, it's not a surprise to me, and it shouldn't be a surprise, I think, to anybody that the Titans at this point are the favorite. Now the question becomes, how much does DeAndre Hopkins really want to be here, and the money, and how much of a difference is there between the Titans and New England and all those things. And we're going to get into a different part of this coming up here in just a few minutes from the Vrabel standpoint that I think is pretty interesting, that I heard a lot of people discussing yesterday. We'll get into that. But I don't think a ton has changed here in terms of what this could look like. Now, the one thing that, with each passing day, we're getting closer to training camp. And in theory, one day closer to a resolution on this stuff. I'm still – I don't know. Some people think that this is going to be figured out by the time training camp opens up. I don't know that I'm convinced that's going to happen at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, but I also would not be surprised if we're 3 days into Titans training camp and DeAndre Hopkins is still floating out there and is available at this point. So, a lot of people said, well, a deadline is coming up for DeAndre Hopkins to have to make a decision. And yes and no. I understand the thinking there that, it's a new team. Maybe you want to be in there by camp, but we've gone through the reasons for a veteran like him to maybe not think it's the worst thing in the world to sit out training camp for a week or two. I think there's a chance we could be 2, 3, 4 days into Titans training camp and DeAndre Hopkins still hadn't signed anywhere.
I sure hope so, because, man, we need more.
We need more of it.
We need to speculate more about DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, how
I don't think we've talked about it enough yet.
Yeah. How long has this basically – this goes back to basically the report that the Titans offered him, right? Is that – or no,
had him in for the visit.
The report that so he came in for the visit. Was that in May?
I think it was early June.
Maybe it was early June. Okay,
I think.
So all right, so we're early still in the second month. That's wild because I left for 2 weeks, and it still feels like such a long time.
It does.
But I don't. I would still bet on that. If I'm him,
it was mid-June. June 11th, June 12th, somewhere in that area. But yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I have nothing to complain about. Jeez, All right, let's do some more.
Yeah, keep it coming, DeAndre.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's a really good chance. If I'm DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, I want a little bit of camp. I certainly would like to get some chemistry built with my new quarterback and all that stuff, but especially if it's one of these two teams, as we've talked about. Yeah, I can miss a week or two and be fine. So, yeah, I'm sure that those two teams and any other, mystery team that might want to get in on this would prefer him to be there. But, again, I just feel like if the Titans did make a good offer, and it appears they have the best offer, the tea leaves suggest they have the best offer, then the waiting, I really do think, is like, you know what? Let's just make sure something magical doesn't happen to get a better deal, better situation. First with the money, but also possibly money plus better chance to win. And I still think that that's a factor.
To that point, and I agree with you, but to that point, I heard a lot of fans yesterday, and Jared was talking about this a lot, talk about, well, if he hasn't signed yet and the Titans have had the best offer, does that mean that Hopkins deep down really doesn't want to be here? Like, he doesn't want to be here and he's looking for something else that's either better, in a better situation to win, the money part of it, all those things. But I guess the thought process from a lot of Titans fans was, well, if the Titans have the best offer on the table and nobody else is coming in with a better offer, does that tell you that DeAndre Hopkins deep down inside probably doesn't really want to be here? And if so, does that bother you if you're the Titans, if you're Vrabel, if you're Rand Carthon looking at all this situation as he tries to make his decision?
I mean, it's pro sports.
I know.
Why? Like this, if he doesn't want to be here, then I don't want him here. Like, okay, then your team's worse. I don't know what to tell you.
A lot of times, I try to explain it this way. Like, both in hockey and in football, like if you're a Predators fan or if you're a Titans fan, we have a lot of crossover, both fan bases, obviously. Like, you know, when these guys get drafted, do you think they grew up and was like, yep, Tennessee Titans, love it.
Right.
They're the team that takes you. When you get to free agency, like, and Jared brought up a good example yesterday, which I think is a good one. Danico Autry. Did you think Danico Autry was just dying to be a Tennessee Titan? No, they offered him the best deal, and he came here and he played, and he's been awesome.
And maybe with him it was a little bit of, let's stick it to the team that should have paid me more. But yeah, exactly. It's, again, put yourself in these shoes. Let's put any of us in this situation. Nick Keyser's out there getting the best deal for Nick Keyser.
He is.
Okay? He's not just going to be like, oh, I'm so loyal to, the Milwaukee Admirals. He's going to go to the best situation he can find.
So you really want to open that can of worms this morning?
Pretty loyal.
I don't think we make enough Admirals.
No, I don't think so either. But no, that's true. That's very, very true, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, like, put yourself in DeAndre Hopkins' shoes. Now, look, personally, some players are more concerned than others about, like, Hall of Fame. DeAndre Hopkins, Hall of Famer?
I mean, I think he's already a Hall of Famer.
Probably already a Hall of Famer now,
That's
right?
what I think. But I know he's not really won anything, but go look at the numbers that dude's put up.
Yeah. And look, for some people, you get to this point in a career and it's absolutely, you're ring chasing. But, man, I can't blame him for preferring, like, $12 million to $3 million, I mean, it goes fast, and then it's gone, and then you have to do something else with your life. So if any of us are in this situation of this kind of earning power, you're not going to try to maximize that earning power? I mean, again, like, go to another industry, Mars and, I don't know, what, Snickers.
Sure.
Who owns Snickers?
I have no idea.
They're both after you. You're a candy executive, because you grew up eating peanut M&Ms. Are you going to have that loyalty? You're going to go where the money is. Come on.
Liam on the text line
says, that was a terrible analogy.
Hey, Mars, I thought we were going planetary stuff for a minute. I was like, wow. Venus?
Mars and you're yeah, I'm not going to do it.
Thank you. Liam on the text line says, this Hopkins stuff is fun and all, but I'd like to start thinking about what aging receiver will be pining over next offseason. It's from Liam on the text line.
Hey, you know what? Just like the new mock drafts are out, we should do that. We should try to guess which
who's gonna
over the hill player that we're all going to go gaga about the Titans will be chasing next offseason. I love it.
Could it be T.Y. Hilton? He's just hanging around after another year.
Hey,
T.Y. Hilton.
God,
he destroyed us for years. Let's go get it.
That's got to happen, right?
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll continue the DeAndre Hopkins discussion, including how does Vrabel view all this with the way that it's going down? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds return from the All-Star break Friday at Louisville.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6 o'clock.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hang on. It's going to be a wild ride. The PBR team's champions, the Nashville Stampede, are coming home in a run to defend their title.
Yeah, we coming.
Stampede Days, August 18th through 20th at Bridgestone Arena. Heart-pounding action you don't want to miss. Tickets start at $20. Get yours today at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com.
Yeah, we coming.
Join us for the ride.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN17. Use code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Anyone who has ever needed self-storage knows what a hassle it can be. You have to rent or borrow a truck and then find someone to help you move your stuff. And let's face it, moving furniture and heavy items without damaging them isn't easy. Renting the unit is worse. The hidden fees and admin costs are scarier than the dingy facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use Closet Box instead? Closet Box is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. Closet Box's background check storage movers are licensed, bonded, and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. Closet Box's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. Closet Box has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off first month storage using code Radio50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook, live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. The DeAndre Hopkins odds shift yesterday from plus 500 to minus 300 for the Titans to be his landing spot whenever that time comes that he makes a decision.
For those of you who aren't big in the gambling world, so this means... if you want to do the math, so plus 500 means you bet $100, you win 500.
Correct.
Now I like to do this. Okay, so minus 300 means you bet $100, you win $33. Is that right? I know. Obviously, it's like you'd have to bet 300 to win 100, but right? Isn't that right?
Correct.
Like if you're going to go with the $100 bet, then you're betting 100 to win 33.
Yeah.
So think about that. The difference in $100 and you win 500, $100 and you win 33. That's a significant shift.
It is. Very much so. So, obviously, lots of changes in one day in terms of the betting odds with DeAndre Hopkins. We've talked so much about Hopkins' fit with the Titans, all those things. How do we think Vrabel views all this with the saga just kind of playing out at this point? Because, you know, the NFL part of this, and I listened to the official Titans podcast the other day, and they had their interview with Vrabel, and they recorded this like pre-July 4th. And it came out, I think, July 3rd or 4th. Anyway, he was going on vacation. Like, he was going to Utah. So, like, Vrabel's been gone.
Utah?
Like the last couple of weeks.
What's he doing in Utah?
I don't know. He's just hanging out in Utah. He's going somewhere for some parade.
You couldn't ski right now, could you?
I don't think so. It'd be a tough one.
That'd be a pretty high mountain. Okay. Anyway, that threw me for a loop. Go
But
ahead.
the point is, like, there's a lot of NFL people that probably at this point are now coming off vacation, but have been out of town for the last couple of weeks because there's nothing going on in the NFL. So, like, I don't know how much attention Vrabel's been paying to the DeAndre Hopkins part of this at this point, but there's all this stuff about Hopkins of maybe he doesn't like to practice all that much. You know, we've talked about, does he want to sit through all of training camp? Does he want to take maybe a week or two off of training camp before he makes his decision? And I think of Mike Vrabel and, you know, people not wanting to practice or people not wanting to take part in training camp. I'm sure the player part of him probably understands that, but the coaching part of him, maybe he's not a huge fan of that. He's obviously familiar with DeAndre Hopkins. He knows the person. He knows the player. And my guess is, you know, if he had a big problem with DeAndre Hopkins' approach, they probably wouldn't be interested in him in the first place. So I don't worry as much about the Vrabel part of this. So, you know, I heard some people talking yesterday about, you know, how does Vrabel going to feel if DeAndre Hopkins waits a week and a half, 2 weeks into training camp and he doesn't show up? Like, at that point, you just look around and you say, well, we still need DeAndre Hopkins, so you just welcome him in. But I do understand the idea of, like, wondering if is DeAndre Hopkins and his approach, if it's true that maybe he doesn't like to practice all that much, are we going back down the Julio Jones route? Is that going to be something that Vrabel takes an issue with?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think one huge difference, like you said, he knows Hopkins has been around Hopkins for multiple years. Go back to Julio. I think Vrabel was very much skeptical and concerned. I don't know if concerned is the right word, but he was uncertain when they made the trade for Julio Jones. To the point that right after that trade, he told us about like calling Nick Saban.
Yeah,
like what's up with this dude, right? I mean, like he called around trying to figure out because look, I think there's a lot more. Like with Julio, again, you have to separate the things. People, you want to get mad at someone for like demanding his contract be redone a year after it got redone. That's management and player. And let's go back to the same thing. And by the way, thank you on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com, to Will, who told me, as I should have known, that Snickers is owned by Mars. Mars has it all. Okay. Mars has it all, okay? But whatever competing company, Nabisco, but it's the same idea, right? I mean, you know, that's business, and to me, it's like, how could you not understand that? But there was other weird stuff about Julio, and you know, I know that on this station there was like some, you know, he didn't go in for a trick play or whatever the heck I forget. You know, there were things about Julio Jones that were concerned, so he looked into it, and like some of it, I guess, kind of played out here. I think the biggest thing is just Julio Jones couldn't stay healthy, but I don't know that he, you know. I don't know that he was like fully into the team. You know, it's like Clowney too. You have that 1 year, and you're like, all right, we'll see you later. Clowney gets hurt. Nah, I'm just going back to Houston. Good luck, guys. Good luck with the rest of the season, though.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, we're talking about, and every player is different. It's not like the Titans haven't brought in veteran players that have worked out. I mean, we talked about Danico Autry last segment, right? I mean, there's a prime example of bringing in a veteran guy, and it's worked out pretty darn well for the Titans. But, I mean, you brought in Jadeveon Clowney. He missed a lot of training camp. You brought in Julio Jones. He was hurt throughout camp and never really, you know, got a whole lot of practice time here in Nashville. I just, as a head coach, you watch these things happen, and I wonder how much that part of it plays into your thinking if you're Vrabel.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say I would come all the way back around to it. I don't think it's like some huge thing. You know, I think of course, if you're Vrabel, you'd want everybody from day one, get all the reps you can get. Absolutely. You know, Vrabel also is big, as we've talked about on here. You take this day, hey, take 2 days or whatever it is. So, I mean, I think he'd much rather have it. But I think sometimes I think Vrabel is more of a new age coach than an old school coach, even though he could go out and play linebacker right now, probably and be okay.
Yeah.
He could at least play on punt team or something. And so – also, with the pre-existing relationship, I think it'd be a lot different than the Julio Jones situation. And just some guys are different. Again, it's different, but let's not forget, Like Ben Jones, he's not practicing. He's not practicing because he can barely walk.
Right.
But, he's a pro. He knows what to do. He's taking the Butch Jones mental reps, and on Sunday he's going to be out there for you. And to me, different situation, not talking injury, but like Hopkins, if you have him, he'll be there on Sundays.
Well, the fact of the matter is, like, they maybe Vrabel doesn't view it this way, but I view it this way. Like, they need him. And did they need Julio Jones? And it was nice to, on paper, making that trade. Obviously, it was nice to have him, and you thought maybe that was the piece that was going to put you over the top. But you had A.J. Brown. Like, the Titans don't have A.J. Brown. They have Treylon Burks, who everybody's excited about, and that's great. But I think they need him. So I think the situation, first off, you're not trading for him, so you're not giving up any assets. But the situation to me is pretty different between the DeAndre Hopkins thing and the Julio Jones part of this.
It is. Now, they had a phenomenal offense in 2020, and then you lose Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. So there was some like, okay, how are you going to replace both of those guys?
Right.
Okay, so you do it with an all-time great receiver in Corey Davis's spot, who's just way better, and then for sure you'll be fine at tight end, So, but still, the level of need then compared to now, I agree. There's a big difference for sure. I don't know. I feel like the Titans are going to end up getting him. Mercifully, it will end at some point. And I think they're going to end up getting him. The thing is that it's so focused on the pursuit. Like, personally, and I was wrong about the first two. So Titans fans hope I'm wrong again. I thought Clowney was going to be a big difference maker for a defense that badly needed pass rush. I was wrong. I thought Julio Jones was going to make this like one of the most ridiculous offenses we'd seen in a while.
Yep.
And he couldn't stay healthy. I guess in both cases they couldn't stay healthy. They need Hopkins badly, but I'm really skeptical about how effective he's going to be now.
Well, maybe that's music to Titans fans.
There you go.
Who knows?
1,500-yard season. Download right now.
Derek on the text line. We've heard a lot of this the last couple of weeks. Forget the aging receiver. Let's tank for Marvin Harrison Jr.
There you go.
I think we're past that point. Although, I mean, look, you ask some people around the league, Titans won't have to tank for him. They're just apparently automatically that bad, and they're going to be 3-14, and there they'll be. They'll have a chance to get him.
So, you know what? Send Vrabel a telegram out to Utah. Say, hey, can you just tank this season, man? How about that? Meanwhile, Will from Nashville is sending me all kinds of facts about Mars.
Yes.
Thank you.
You've opened up a can of worms.
Pandora's box of Mars.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans. Which Titans newcomer do we think will have the biggest impact this season? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
This is it. The legendary live band Fish returns to the road this fall. Fish, Friday, October 6th, Saturday, October 7th, and Sunday, October 8th, Bridgestone Arena. On sale this Saturday, 10 a.m. at livenation.com.
The Dell Technologies Black Friday in July event starts now with limited quantity deals on top business PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Plus, get special financing with Dell Business Credit. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to business customers by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text HUNK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 42424. That's HUNK to 42424.
Broken bricks, falling fences, damaged doors, Gorilla Glue. Of course. It's incredibly strong and 100% waterproof and bonds, well, virtually everything. While you're at it, look for Gorilla Tape, a heavy-duty double-thick duct tape, and Gorilla Super Glue, great for all your quick fixes and repairs. There's also Gorilla Epoxy, Gorilla Wood Glue, Gorilla Construction Adhesive. Of course. You get it. If you can break it, Gorilla can fix it. For the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I'm looking for fuel injector cleaner.
Right now, buy a bottle of Chevron Techron Complete Fuel System Cleaner and get one free. Only at AutoZone.
Will it also help with my mileage?
Get everything you need to restore your performance in MPGs.
Wait, is it good for trucks too?
Whatever vehicle you have, you can find the right products and parts at AutoZone.
AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Call TJ's team today to see why they are referred to so often. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Taking your thoughts on the Titans. We got the best and worst things in sports for this week coming up at 6:45, so we'll take your submissions on that as well on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, yesterday we discussed maybe the best move the Titans made in the offseason. I think Jeffrey Simmons and the contract extension was the answer that we both came up with. We talked about newcomers on the offensive line. We talked about, positions that they've added, maybe positions that they neglected in the offseason, all these different things. And it led me to think about who do we think is going to be the biggest impact player for the Titans that is a newcomer this year? Be that in free agency, be that in the NFL draft. Newcomers on the Titans this year, who do you think will be the biggest impact player of that bunch?
It's a very good question.
Thank you.
Peter Skronsky could be amazing, and it would be like you could go through weeks and never mention him,
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want.
That's what you want.
Right. If you're an offensive lineman, if you're official, et cetera, you want to not be mentioned. But I think it could be him. I mean, he's the first-round pick, and look, if you shore up the interior of the offensive line, and that's the thing. It's like I understand the idea that tackle is – technically more valuable. It's more valued. It's a higher paid position. It's a quote-unquote premium position. But in this league, you look at their schedule. Look at some of the interior defensive linemen the Titans are going to be facing this year. Look at what they just paid Jeffrey Simmons for doing what he does in the interior of the defensive line.
Yep.
It's huge. You can control that area. That makes a huge difference. And obviously, go back to some of the worst performances of the offensive line in recent years. We talked about Jamil Douglas. I'm sorry that we have to keep invoking his name. We'll be talking about Dennis Daly in 2037. I promise you. He'll still be brought up. But think about him at right guard in that game against Jacksonville, Think about when they were bad with Nate Davis. Last year, Aaron Brewer at times being overwhelmed by much bigger players, especially players with length. I'm going to go with the offensive line. We don't give the offensive line enough love.
We don't.
So I'm going to go with Peter Skoronski.
I think that's very likely the answer. I said a guy yesterday that to me, if he's in the conversation for this, I think it's a really good sign for the Titans. I'm so curious about Andre Dillard and what he is. Just given, he was drafted obviously very high. He's a first-round pick, and we never really saw it in Philadelphia. He wasn't a starting player there. Obviously, there's potential and ability there, or he wouldn't be drafted in the first round. So now that he's going to get a shot to be a starting left tackle in this league, I'm really curious to see how that goes. I think he's going to be better than Dennis Daly. I also think that shouldn't be the bar. What are we even talking about being better than Dennis Daly there? But if he's pretty good, that's a really good win for the Titans in the offseason to get a left tackle in here and to do it with a really cheap price, kind of a reclamation project with Andre Dillard. I have no idea how he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to be atrocious from the word jump. I don't know if he's going to be an all-pro. My guess is it's probably somewhere in between all those things. But if he plays well this year and you get to a point where you look at your left tackle spot and you say, yeah, we're not really worried about him out there all by himself against some of the best pass rushers in the league, that would be awesome. Now, I don't know how realistic that's going to be, but to me, if he even approaches that in the conversation, that's a win for the Titans.
Yeah, and so
that's what I'm hoping it is.
Yeah, so those two, imagine if they're both into the discussion.
Yeah.
Think about how different that side is compared to last year, Daly and Brewer, and then you go to Dillard, Skoronski. And yeah, I'm fascinated to see what it looks like. In the spring, he looked fine. You're not, you're out there in shorts, and you're still taking pass pro reps. You're still, moving. They're running plays, run and pass. And so you're getting to watch him move. He looks the part, but it's so hard to tell. And it'll be interesting this preseason too, like what Vrabel wants to do in terms of trying to build chemistry with that offensive line. Like in preseason games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seems like it'd be valuable, worthwhile. It's also there's no more injury. There shouldn't be any more injury-fearing coach in the league right now than Mike Vrabel.
That is
right?
true.
But it's going to be really interesting. And it's just with Dillard and then with the Niners guys, it's like you're talking about guys clearly who Rand Carthon believes are starter quality players who were simply on stacked rosters.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't know how good they are.
Obviously beyond the obvious guys like Treylon Burks and Chig Okonkwo, I start to think about guys that are maybe a little bit under the radar that intrigue me the most. Dillard, I think, is that guy on the offensive side of the ball. I think Arden Key is that guy on the defensive side of the ball because I like him. I think he's a good player. He's never really been a full-time starting player before in the NFL. And, I would assume that's what he's getting ready to be for the Titans, and that's part of the pitch that they gave him is to help him get to a point where he's starting – and he's an every down player for the Titans. What does that production look like? You're kind of taking a chance if you're Carthon and Vrabel on some of these guys of, all right, they've played in lesser roles elsewhere, be that in San Francisco or in Jacksonville in Arden Key's case. And it's not like he was never on the field, but I would assume he's going to be on the field more for the Titans. And you're hoping and relying on those guys to, with more opportunity comes more production, and you've gotten them on cheaper deals, all those things. It could work out, or, you could get halfway through the season and you realize, maybe Andre Dillard's a backup tackle in this league. Or, maybe Arden Key is, like a third down pass rusher.
There's a reason he's bounced around so much. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions like that on this team. It's hard to imagine they're all going to go in the Titans' favor or all go against. But, the either or of, here it all works out is pretty good. And the other side is pretty bad, with a lot of these. Yeah, because, I mean, I like Arden Key. I think he can make plays, but can he be that guy? Can he be that every down guy in every situation, be effective? Why is he bouncing around like this? Dillard, it's like, hey, he just got beat out by a better player. And look, I mean, like TD, for example, way before he was a Titan, talked about him. So, and of course, TD used to cover the Eagles, so he knows a lot of people there. So that happens sometimes. You're just like, I mean, Al-Shire too. He's a guy who has made some plays. I mean, you watch some of the film of him, and you're like, wow, he's an athletic, explosive player. But he just wasn't out there as a full-time starter all the time. So what does it look like when he is?
Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our buddy Mark in Nashville. Mark, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, how you doing, Robby, Joe? How y'all doing, man?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, you were talking about the newcomers with the Titans. You kind of took the words out of my mouth, Robby, but I was going to say Arden Key. I'm going to look for Arden Key to have, and this is just prediction, 8 to 10 sacks this year as a full-time starter. That's what I'm going to look at through him. Andre Dillard, I think he's going to be better than a lot of people give him credit for, because he's going to be on that island out there by himself, so he's going to have to be productive. Skoronski, I think he'll be a good whether they play him at guard or tackle, I think he'll be good. He'll have a good year. The linebacker you were talking about from 49ers, I think he'll have a good season. So that's the newcomers that I'm looking at that I think will have good and productive seasons. Hey, Joe, I wanted to get around to something while I got you on here.
Oh, yeah.
Proud of you, man. You did what you needed to do yesterday. I knew I wanted to text you yesterday and tell you I couldn't reach y'all's station. I tried to text Robby and let him know that I had something I didn't know what topic y'all were talking about, so I wanted to call in. I didn't want to call in without knowing what was going on, but I knew he was going to attack you about that article you wrote in the Athletic and stuff, and I meant to text you about that, Joe. That's my fault.
But he overcame anyway, Mark. He overcame anyway.
Yeah, I know he did. Hey, Joe, I like the way you got argumentative with him. You didn't let your guards down. You stayed strong with him, Joe. He wanted to argue, which the same thing he did with Robby the week before. Robby held strong with him and just went on and defeated him. And you did what you had to do. Joe, I know every time you debate Stillman, I know what it is, man. It's almost like you're debating 2-on-1 because Caroline, she's going to kind of, she's kind of works with Stillman, so I kind of know how you feel. I kind of know how you feel with that right there, man. It's like you're going two against one. I get that. But you can still defeat those odds, though, Joe. And you and Robby, y'all need to give me more credit, man. I'm really a good luck motivator for both of y'all.
No question about it. I really am. No question about it.
That's right. Life coach. But you know what? Hey, I give you credit, but I'm not going to take much credit for yesterday. I mean, that was just Jared just stepping all over himself with his ridiculous tape. I mean, sometimes it's like, just get out of the way and watch him implode,
Yeah, I think Stillman sometimes talks out of both sides of his neck, man. He really does, man. And then he tries to get you to fall for this little stuff that he tries to throw out there, Joe, and you held strong, and you didn't go with that. You stayed on course, Joe. That's what you got to do to beat Stillman, Joe. That's what you got to do.
Thanks, buddy.
Mark, it's great to hear from you as always. Another victory for Joe Rexrode.
That's right. Team Joe. Y'all have a good day, rest of the day, Robby, and we're going to get on out of here, man. We'll see y'all.
All right, Mark. We'll holler at you later.
Thanks,
Mark in Nashville.
Talking about your clothes.
Oh, yes. Oh, one of my favorite drops. That's a throwback right there.
What was that?
Oh, yeah. You don't remember those? We'll have to find that commercial from back in the day. It was awesome.
That was a Jared commercial?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He contributes so much to the discourse here.
He does. Coming up next, it's time for the best and worst things in sports.
Right.
We'll take your submissions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, we think. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This fall,
Indy 24-21. Your final.
The game
All by himself for a one-hand flush.
gets bigger.
The doors on the board.
Your new home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. Football, men's basketball, baseball, and women's basketball all live here. Your home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. Get up to 50% off in every department. Don't miss a TCL 65-inch Roku TV for only $349, or an LG laundry pair for just $499 each. Save on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, and more. Get an Acer Aspire laptop for just $199, or a Ring Video doorbell for only $149. Get up to 5 years special financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I love the PhD Weight Loss program, and I've blown past the 20-pound mark. And I've done it all while enjoying the summer and traveling on vacations. I love the PhD program because it's simple for me to understand and to activate. And quite frankly, because it works. I feel so much better about myself because I feel in control of my weight, and I get excited when I continue to see my progress. If you're someone who has struggled to lose weight, go online to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. Learn about the program, the coaching, and the guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, online at myphdweightloss.com.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself, or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 1-800-983-6530. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-983-6530 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 1-800-983-6530 right now to schedule your vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-983-6530 now. This advertisement is paid for by Heritage for the Blind.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It's that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your submissions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Joe Rexrode, would you like to kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports?
Yeah, I got to say,
it's a little light right now.
Well, the worst, there are multiple possibilities. Best, a little tough. But, best, I'm going to go with Wimbledon. And
yes.
I've watched more Wimbledon in the last, I don't know why exactly, but I've always liked tennis. I think you and I both share an enjoyment of tennis that Nick Keyser does not share with us.
Totally despises, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tennis hater. But I've really enjoyed it. There's been some great matches. I'm actually kind of excited about, the rest of the week. And it has been a while. I mean, I used to, religiously watch Wimbledon, We talked yesterday about, great matches of all time and things like that. I wouldn't call this right now, the greatest era of tennis, but it's just like anything else that we always talk about with all the sports. People get bigger, they get faster, they get stronger, they get more skilled, they get better in every sport. And we're waiting for, I think, some greats, to emerge for a different era a little bit in tennis. But at the same time, it's fantastic. I mean, there's just a lot of really good players. So that's my best. My worst, I'm going to add a quick one because it came through last night. Dick Vitale says he has vocal cord cancer.
Yep.
It's terrible news. It appears they caught it in good time. Obviously, he has already defeated cancer once, and he's kind of come back and trying to go through everything to get back on the air. He's able to do that a little bit, and now back to this. So, just really praying for him. It's terrible news, but also I'm confident that he's going to, battle that well. And, Northwestern was my worst, so many aspects of it, and I'll stick with that too. So I guess I'll go double worst. Just, first of all, the idea that some of these things would still be going on. And, David Jones from Pennsylvania had a good column. If you guys think that, like, Northwestern's on an island here, let's be realistic. And that's not to excuse anything at Northwestern, but, stuff like that, like, we're well past time where that stuff should go away. But also the cowardice of the Northwestern administration, and just let's react to the reaction and then fire him and not even, like, take questions from the players and stuff like that. Pathetic.
Yeah, no question about that. Nick Keyser, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Yeah, well, I think that was a good one, Joe, talking about Vitale. I think that was something that was warranted given for our best and worst things. I saw that later yesterday evening and was disappointed to see that, but I hope that he does well after taking on this and trying to defeat it once again. I know that he had pancreatic cancer last time around, I think, or was it something else?
No,
I forgot.
I think it was more in the
throat
area.
Okay,
Same
okay.
area,
Yeah, okay. But for me, I'm going to go over to Nashville SC a little bit. I didn't get to watch the entire game last night, but I heard it was absolutely atrocious officiating last night.
Gary Smith was not happy about it.
Oh, he was not. I even have a clip ready for it, too, if we want to get to it later in the show. But he was irate about the officiating, and one specific one, too. He basically just went on a tangent and said, yep, this guy had no experience whatsoever.
He was not happy.
Yeah, he was very fed up. So that was just god-awful last night for Nashville SC. I think they've lost 2 in a row. That's what I have in my update. So that is unfortunate for them, and they need to get their butt in gear. So we'll see how they do. But I would say the best thing in sports, it's not really anything to do with sports necessarily, other than that this time of the year is just, it's a good time to take a break. I know yesterday we kind of talked about, like, what's our favorite time of the year for sports and what everything has going on. And personally for me, this is a good time of year where we can just kind of relax a little bit. It's good to kind of speculate, but I am not going to talk about Pete Rose's jersey being on some person's back that I don't care about. But at the end of the day, it's good to kind of take a break. You guys get what that means, too, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the fall and the spring. So I'm just glad that we can kind of take a break to ourselves a little bit and just kind of soak it in, but also get ready for the next season as well. So I'll take the things that happen, obviously, like breaking news or trades or anything, free agency. That's fine. I don't think that's horrible. But I think for me, I like that there's kind of some good lull time. But the other thing, too, that I kind of wanted to write down, too, I don't like fans that are know-it-alls on social media. It drives me insane.
We'll go back to worse.
Yes.
Wow.
It was nuts. Look, seeing whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, I get it a lot, and it is frustrating to look at sometimes. And much like Robby, and I feel like I'm going to get to this point, is just deleting stuff at some point and just saying, I'm done. Like, this is bad. So I'm just fed up with seeing people talk about different topics, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's NHL, the Predators obviously here in town, or it's Will Levis, or it's the Titans. I'm like,
Nick hates Wimbledon and all your opinions.
Ridiculous. And Wimbledon takes the cake, I guess.
And
I don't watch
best thing
it.
in sports, no sports.
No sports.
There's a hot take. Nick Keyser, hot take.
Well,
Thank
break.
You, Nick.
I got
We
you.
appreciate it. All right, my best thing in sports. I started the quarterbacks documentary last night on Netflix.
Oh man, I'm so into it.
I'm only one episode in. I really like it. I really do. And I was skeptical at first about all right, so they got Mahomes, and then they have Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota. Okay. But I kind of like the way it's going. Like I like having the great player, the good player, and the guy trying to hang on in the NFL.
And the worst player of all time. Come on, be honest.
Well, I will say, I've only one episode in. They didn't spend a whole lot of time on Marcus in that episode. But
let's hope that
changes. I think it's really good. So, there's still a lot of episodes left for me to watch. But through one episove, I'm very impressed with the quarterbacks documentary. So I like it.
Nice.
That's my
I'm
best thing in
excited for
sports. My worst thing in sports, y'all have covered a good amount of them. I know that this is not necessarily new, but the details of it came out this week. And the more I look at it, the more I'm convinced that the in-season tournament for the NBA might be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I hate it. And look, I will say, I applaud the NBA for trying to come up with something that makes the regular season a little bit more exciting, because the NBA, I think more so than any other league, maybe with the exception of Major League Baseball, because I've long said that they should probably cut down Major League Baseball season. But the NBA, more so than other league, I think probably needs to find a way to spice up the regular season, because from guys taking nights off from load management to you can identify who the best teams in the league are pretty quickly in the NBA, and you probably don't need 82 games. I applaud them for trying to do something. But like this tournament that's going to stretch out over a month, that's going to be played on Tuesdays and Fridays, and they're taking one Thursday off here and one Tuesday off there. There's a knockout round and group play. Like the knockout round, I'm like, isn't that what the playoffs are? Like, isn't that way you get to the end of the season and play the playoffs? I think this is going to be mind-numbingly stupid when it all takes place.
Yeah, I don't like it. Well, you brought up Nashville SC, so it's a very soccer thing to do, right? And honestly, this is just how my brain works, Like, I don't get in the middle of this MLS season why – but it's a soccer thing. I get it.
It is.
It's like this is its own separate sort of thing.
I don't like it.
It's like in college football. Let's have the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl in October.
Yes.
I know it's a bad analogy, but I don't like it either. Like play the season, then play the postseason. That's how my brain works.
I mean, I don't know what the answer is for the NBA, because like I said, I actually do enjoy that they're trying to come up with something that makes their regular season a little bit more exciting, but I don't think this is it.
The answer is have fewer games, or whatever number of games will have all the great players playing all the games.
Yes, that's the answer.
Then you're good.
Yeah, no question. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Got a couple of votes for the officiating last night in the Nashville SC game.
Yes.
Apparently just absolutely terrible. Gary Smith after the game. I saw some of his comments. It's pretty funny. Like, he was pretty mad last night. Anytime a coach goes after the officials in a post-game press conference, I'm here for it. Doesn't happen enough.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches are too afraid to do it. Gary Smith was not afraid last night.
Gary Smith, that's kind of – because Vrabel can be very good at that.
He can.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Did Laviolette – see, that's the thing. If Laviolette was mad, he would – like Hines never said anything.
Yeah. Wasn't very often with Laviolette either.
I guess Stackhouse. I'm trying to think of all the coaches around here and who will go. Stackhouse would go off, well, certainly on the court.
Next question.
Yeah, there's Laviolette. I do remember a Barry Trotz one time where we would ask Barry Trotz about certain calls and he would never really go into it. And then one night, apparently there was one that just drove him nuts, and we got through the whole way through a press conference. And by the time we were done, he walked off the stage. And he was like, "I cannot believe that you guys didn't ask me about that call. Can't believe it." And we're all like, "Well, Barry, you never answered the question." So anyway, it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah. He was mad. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into a little bit of the running back position in the NFL. What does the future look like for Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dalvin Cook? All those guys still a little bit in limbo heading into training camp. We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Adult education in Tennessee. It's more than just a diploma. It's a path to a better life. It's a way to help you communicate more effectively. From high school equivalency classes and testing to English as a second language and college prep courses, there's no shortage of opportunities to enhance the lives of you and your family. Adult education in Tennessee. It's more than just a diploma. Go to tnworkready.com to unlock your maximum potential.
Brought to you by Tennessee Adult Education, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Hey y'all, my name is Tiara, and a little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit is that it has the perfect amount of spice to jumpstart my day. Whoever thought of it, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Robert, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit is the biscuit. It reminds me of my grandma's homemade biscuit. It's always buttery and savory, then you add the spices, instant classic.
Order the Spicy Chicken Biscuit on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real Chick-fil-A guests paid for their testimonials.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. This is Nick Keyser. Nashville SC lost their second consecutive match last night 2-0 against the Philadelphia Union. Head coach Gary Smith expressed his displeasure with one area of the game after the loss.
I think it was very, very easy for everyone to see in the crowd that this inexperienced referee, which is what he is, I think we looked and saw 10 games in MLS, look way out of his depth here tonight.
And the ESPYs were last night. LeBron James won the best record-breaking performance, while Patrick Mahomes won best athlete in men's sports, and Liam Hendricks won the Jimmy V Perseverance Award. Meanwhile, the Nashville Sounds are back in action tomorrow evening after the All-Star break. On the road in Louisville, the first pitch is set for 6:15 p.m. Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode. Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Dominic Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Rebound on the score. Make every play perfect. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, where their advanced pay-by-TJ option can save you thousands when selling your home. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. We'll have David Ubben from The Athletic coming up at 7:30, talking all things college football. Looking forward to that with him. Charles Robinson for his weekly visit from Yahoo Sports, talking all things NFL. We'll have him from 8 to 8:30 today on the show, and I know that Charles is very excited that Rexrode is off vacation. We talked about that last week, so looking forward to that.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait to hear. I want to hear more about Traylon Burks' superstar.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that too. We'll get into that coming up at 8 o'clock with Charles. Speaking of all things NFL, it's a pretty interesting time for the running backs right now, and 3 guys in particular kind of stand out to me heading into this season, and all 3 of them are in pretty different spots. First off, there's the Saquon Barkley front, and the tag that the Giants are trying to get him signed to. He wants a longer-term deal, obviously, and the deadline to strike that longer-term deal is coming up. It's on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and Diana Rossini from ESPN put this out there yesterday. Quote, "As we near the deadline for the Giants and Saquon Barkley to strike a long-term deal, I'm told the 2 sides remain at a stalemate. The deadline to strike a long-term deal is Monday at 4 o'clock. Saquon Barkley has made it clear that the franchise tag is undesirable. I'm told his availability for Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys will be in serious question if he does not get a long-term deal from the Giants." So that's what Diana Rossini had to put out there yesterday. So it's interesting, Joe. Like we saw, and we've had discussions about this with Derrick Henry and how important he is to the Titans. I think we saw how important Saquon Barkley is to the Giants last year when he was back, he was healthy, he was available the whole season. I mean, he put on a clinic against the Titans in Week 1 last year, and there were several games that Saquon Barkley was the difference maker for the Giants. So Daniel Jones has already gotten the big deal this offseason, and they've signed him, and they have not made that commitment yet to Saquon Barkley for a long-term deal. So even with Barkley, and I think the value we saw from him last year, Joe, just kind of underscores how tough it is out there for running backs right now trying to get that long-term deal.
Yeah, and man, I mean, we've talked about it some, and obviously there's a guy here who, you know, I mean, at his age, Derrick Henry, that, you know, these guys are like, 26, 27, and people are talking about, I mean, it's like basically like you can't even count on a second contract if you're a great player, you know? And the problem, of course, with the tag, I mean, a lot of positions in the NFL, it's like, well, okay, you know, that's the average of the, top 3? Do I have that correct?
I believe so.
You know, at your position, okay. I mean, at least you're going to get a good number that year. No one likes it, but at least there's compensation in that year. But, you know, the average of the top 3 at that position is, again, it's like there's been no inflation. There's been outrageous inflation everywhere else. And, you know, like Chris Johnson's deal with the Titans would still look pretty good today. That's just crazy. So, and again, I just feel like it should not be. It's like there were a lot of people, even in this town, screaming, "Don't pay the running back," when Derrick Henry came up for his deal. It's like, no, you got to look at the specific situation. How stupid it would have been to not pay Derrick Henry back then. It was absolutely the right move. And again, paying, quote unquote, I'm saying paying him. Again, it's running back dollars, which is still incredibly low, I think, compared to what it should be with some players. I mean, Saquon Barkley, to me, that team that's a. I mean, I can make a case that's a 3-4 win difference. Maybe I'm being a little bit, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but Derrick Henry, you know, he's worked hard to be a little bit more in the passing game, but he's never going to be, he never has been, never will be, you know, a huge part of the passing game. But a guy like Saquon Barkley can do everything, and some of these other guys too. I mean, Cook, obviously a guy like McCaffrey is valued, but it's crazy to see what's happened. I'm very interested to see, like, is Barkley bluffing here? I wouldn't advise, you know, missing games. I wouldn't advise. I mean, you have such a limited time frame, and this is what the team knows. Like, you can't afford to do this, right? And we all know what happened with Le'Veon Bell. Did not go well for him.
Yeah. Well, and then there are 2 other guys that stand out that their future is pretty interesting to me right now. Both of them are 27 years old. Dalvin Cook still out there as a free agent after being released by Minnesota, and Ezekiel Elliott still out there as a free agent after being released by the Dallas Cowboys. Both of them 27 years old. I think in 2 different spots. Look, I think there's significant interest in Dalvin Cook and what he could bring. I just don't think the money has been where he wants it to be yet, and we'll see whether or not that changes or what he settles for. I actually think, and a lot of people have talked about this, I think him on the Dolphins would be a really good fit, but we'll see what happens and whether or not that happens. Yeah. I don't know how much interest is out there for Elliott. Yeah. Like I've just not heard a lot of teams are lining up to bring Ezekiel Elliott into the program. Now, again, we're still a couple weeks out from training camp, and those things can change pretty quickly, but I've heard way more about teams being interested in Dalvin Cook than I have Ezekiel Elliott at this point.
Well, I think Elliott is more an example of this is the timeline because he does look like the time and the workload, even though it's not a ton of time, it has been a ton of workload, has caught up with him. So Barnwell for ESPN had a piece about the plight of the running back. So Elliott's only back to rack up 350 touches consecutively since 2014. He did it in 18 and 19. Of course, obviously, Derrick Henry in terms of carries. Here's a stat from this piece, really interesting. From 1978, interesting starting point. That's right around Walter Payton coming in the league. To 2010, 4.2 backs per season in the league, averaged 20 rushes per game. Since 2010, a total of 12 have done that, okay? And only two have pulled it up in the past 5 years. Those are both Derrick Henry, 20 rushes per game. So, like the lead back model and all that stuff's going away. Most teams want to have two backs, and they split the work and all that stuff. And if that's the case, well, then it used to be teams, everybody has to have your star running back. Who is your running back? The Cleveland Browns had 2,000-yard rushers and Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner. It's so different. But still, when you have great players like a Barkley, like a Henry, I think they should be viewed differently. Elliott, to me, is, I think, a classic example of the time frame is short. And Pollard, he's just more explosive than him.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I don't think Elliott is – I think Elliott's going to be on he's going to be somewhere, but it's a diminished role, and I think it probably is quickly fading for him.
Well, and by the way, Leonard Fournette is still out there and is available too. So think about this discussion.
And he's still pretty effective.
He is. Think about this discussion 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where you would say, hey, in the summer of 2023, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott will both have been released. Leonard Fournette will also be a free agent, and Saquon Barkley can't get a long-term deal signed with the Giants. Just think about having that conversation a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Now, if you told me that at the time, I would again, I'd believe the Elliott thing because it does a lot of backs I think Derrick Henry already is bucking the norms.
Agreed.
Now guy like Frank Gore bucked it over and over again. Elliott's going to fall into that category. But yeah, the Barkley thing to me, it's sad because he just take the title away. Just don't call him a running back. I remember Le'Veon Bell said that back with the Steelers. I don't want to be called a running back. I'm an offensive weapon. Right. You just put OW. Don't put RB next to my name. Put OW because it just costs all of us. Saquon Barkley is a great player.
He is. The one thing about him is he's been hurt a lot.
That's true.
He got hurt in 2019. He missed 3 games then. He missed basically the whole year in 2020. Only played 2 games. He got hurt in 2021. He missed 4 games then. Now, last year, he was healthy. He played in 16 of the 17 games, ran for 1,300 yards, caught 57 passes out of the backfield last year. He was everything they hoped he would be.
That's the thing. Because you're right. That's obviously on that side of the table. You bring that up a lot. But, if I'm Barkley and his age, it's okay, bad luck. It's too bad. But just showed you. It can stay healthy, go through a whole season, be effective, help us win a playoff game.
Well, that's the thing. They just made the playoffs and won a playoff game when he was healthy in that way. And look, Daniel Jones looked better. Brian Daboll, I think, is obviously a really good coach, and he does great things with quarterbacks. I still watched Daniel Jones play last year, and I saw him a couple times up close when he played the Titans and when he played the Packers over in London. And he's okay. He made some good plays. Yeah. But Saquon Barkley was the reason they won both of those games, the Packers and the Titans game.
Right.
So,
take him away. I seriously, take him. I think you're going playoff to non-playoff. So how much does that matter to you?
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take your thoughts on the running back position. Still some high-level names out there and available at running back in the NFL. We'll get your thoughts on that. And the NFL has made a decision on who's going to be subjected to hard knocks coming up in training camp, too. And it's going to be interesting. We'll get into that coming up next as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds return from the All-Star break Friday at Louisville. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6 o'clock.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
The FedEx St. Jude Championship returns to TPC Southwind, August 9th through the 13th. Don't miss your chance to witness the top 70 players from the PGA Tour season battle it out in the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Only 50 players will make it through Memphis. Don't miss your chance to watch the drama unfold. Daily grounds and upgraded ticket options are on sale now at FedExChampionship.com.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Sarah wants a yard. My own little paradise. Brad, however, hates yard work.
The only thing I hate more than cutting the grass is paying someone to cut the grass.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Sarah and Brad found a great home with a yard. A very, very small yard.
Time to get it done. And I'm done.
Bundling without compromise at Geico.com.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
O'Reilly Auto Parts provides more than just the right parts for your repair. Our professional parts people can also offer free check engine light diagnosis. We can scan your vehicle and provide a list of possible fixes. Find the right parts for you or recommend a great local repair shop. Don't ignore your check engine light. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text HUNK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 42424. That's HUNK to 42424.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Good morning. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty.
I have the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Game Summer Ticket Tour is headed to Fat Bottom Brewery at 844th Avenue North in Nashville tomorrow afternoon from 2 to 6. Come eat, drink, hang, and leave with a pair of free Sounds, Preds, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix tickets, or concert tickets as well. Also get signed up for the Grand Prize Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at Opryland Hotel with access to sound waves. Black Tie Moving delivers the Game Summer Ticket Tour. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/tour. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook, live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts on the running back position in the NFL. Saquon Barkley going through a contract dispute with the Giants. Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott still out there and available on the open market. Jabari Martin on YouTube says, problem with Saquon, what if the Giants take the same franchise money and give a 1-year deal to Dalvin Cook? Cook, I'm sure, would take it. Barkley isn't reading the room very well. This is from Jabari Martin on YouTube.
I don't know, man. I mean, I suppose. That's an interesting thought. But
I mean, there's been stuff out there about maybe the Vikings trying to go back and bring Dalvin Cook back in, which I just think would be weird. But I've seen it out there.
That would be weird. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a Barkley believer, and I agree. You always have to worry about health if someone has health history, but man, I think he's such a difference maker for their team. But this is taking advantage of the RB in front of the name.
Joanna in Donaldson says, name a team that picked up a running back 2/3 of the way through their career who took a team far in the playoffs. 0. This is from Joanna in Donaldson.
Is that true? Are you sure? I don't know. I mean, nothing comes off the top of my head. I mean, there's definitely been, the Cowboys got an entire dynasty sent to them for Herschel Walker going to the Vikings. I think the Vikings did, get to the playoffs a time or two with Herschel Walker on their team, but certainly it turned out to be an incredibly good trade for Dallas and an incredibly bad one for Minnesota.
I mean, I guess
are you sure that's never happened?
I mean, I guess is Leonard Fournette 2/3 of the way through his career? Because, I mean, he played in Jacksonville 3 years, and then Tampa Bay picked him up, and they won a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, they had Brady, and they had a defense.
That's the thing. Running backs anymore, like 2 years is 2/3 of
exactly,
your career. So I guess maybe that
I mean, right now, Leonard Fournette's a free agent. Nobody signed him to this point. He's 28 years old. But, I mean, right now, halfway through his career, somebody picked him up and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean,
I hear what you're saying.
You got to adjust that. Yeah, I do too. But actually, now that you said this, now I need to, let's see, when was he? Yeah, all right, I got one for you. Now we're going to go back. We're going to go back to one of my favorite all-time teams and players. My guy, Johnny Riggins, okay?
Yes.
John Riggins was a rookie with the Jets in 71. He was a dominant Super Bowl champion running back in 1982 for Washington. So there you go. We have to go back 40 years, but I got an answer for you.
I mean, I think – see, Joanna in the text says took their team far in the playoffs. Now, Leonard Fournette didn't take his team far in the playoffs. He was very good in the playoffs that year, but they had Brady in that defense. John Riggins took his team far.
John Riggins was the centerpiece of that offense. And by the way, that was the Air Coryell offense, but just with the Hogs and a dominant power back and great receivers. But, it worked out well. I wish we could go back to the early 80s, and all these running backs would be getting paid.
They would. I had another texter on the text line throw out, what about Marshawn Lynch? I mean, he played in Buffalo for the first part of his career and then was in Seattle when they win the Super Bowl. Was that 12 when they won the Super Bowl, I believe?
Right in there.
So I don't know if he was 2/3 of the way through his career then, but certainly he was a big part of them winning that Super Bowl.
He was definitely – yeah, I mean, that's a good example and a more modern example of a guy who had been in the league for a while. Yeah, I mean, he was a rookie in 2007. So I guess was it 10, 11? Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, he had a longer career, so 2/3 of a career for him is actually a few years. But, yeah, look, there aren't a ton of examples, of course. But, I think Dalvin Cook right now, I mean – and somebody's going to get him on the cheap. That's a nice ad. He's still a really good player.
Well, there was a lot of smoke to when he got cut by the Vikings. It was he's going to join the Dolphins, and I mean you think about a cheaper Dalvin Cook, Tua, and then Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill with that defense that they've now assembled on the other side. I mean, it'd be pretty good offense to watch out there if Tua could stay healthy, which is a big F heading into this year, but. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. A Tua, Dalvin Cook, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle-led offense. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, I'm in on that, no doubt. Yeah, Josh brings up a good point. Different, but DeMarco Murray here. DeMarco Murray here was a really important pickup. As important as it was to bring in Ben Jones and to draft Conklin, all that stuff. I mean, DeMarco Murray brought like a professionalism. And also, by the way, he was probably the best back in the league before he got hurt that year in 2016, and he'd been in the league, 5 years?
Yeah.
So how did we not think of that? Thank you, Josh.
Right, but he never led the Titans on like some deep playoff run.
No, that's true. He got them to I mean, he helped them get to the playoffs the next year, but of course he was hurt, and then Derrick Henry lit up the Chiefs.
He did. The New York Jets, Joe Rexrode, have been selected to be on Hard Knocks coming up this fall on HBO. So last year we were all treated to Dan Campbell and the marvelous Detroit Lions Hard Knocks. Now it will be the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson and all these guys that they've now acquired that either used to play for the Packers or Aaron Rodgers really likes. It's going to be interesting to see what the Hard Knocks looks like with the New York Jets this year.
I mean, I like this. I'm not going to like it as much as the Rex Ryan version of the Hard Knocks.
Well, there's that.
But it's interesting. Like, teams are just desperate to not be on this anymore.
Oh, they apparently hate it.
And to that, and the show has gotten so much weaker as part of it too, right?
Oh yeah.
Not only do they hate it, they now don't cooperate with it. It's clear. Like, the cooperation is terrible. And so
you can't see anything.
The content has gotten it's almost time to kill the show.
It almost is, although I will say I did kind of enjoy the Lions one last year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But we're taking a significant step down. Like, I really like Robert Saleh. I think he's a good coach. He's not he's boring. Like, he's not Dan Campbell.
That's the thing. You need a Rex Ryan.
Right.
You need a Dan Campbell did make it. That it was fun to watch him. You need person. Honestly, like the Texans year, Vrabel stole some scenes. I mean, like, how did you get that many F-bombs in 9 seconds of footage? I don't know, but you did. A mighty team that will not yield.
Maybe that's what it is. Like, we're never going to see one quite like the Lions again. That was the last hurrah of a good Hard Knocks. Like, what are they're going to follow Aaron Rodgers into like some darkness retreat or
that's
ayahuasca circle?
Well, honestly, the reason I'm interested is that, like, I'm hoping that he'll decide that he wants to, like, play along.
He likes the game.
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
Like, he likes attention, but also I wonder because he likes it on his terms.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I could see him being like, yeah, I'm not playing your reindeer games. I don't know. I hope not.
I mean, I'd be interested to follow Zach Wilson around a little bit. You never know what he might do up there in New York.
Yeah, I've seen some interesting memes and gifs about Zach Wilson on this that I will not share. Hey, real quick on the text line, Marcus Allen with the Chiefs, a good one. Otis Anderson with the Giants.
There you go.
JD and Brentwood, and thank you, Jeff from Earth. Great example. Won it all. Scott Norwood, wide right. Sorry, Bills fans, but you're talking about a guy who's been in the league a long time, and that's only 30 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by David Ubben from The Athletic. We'll get his thoughts on all things college football, the Northwestern situation, SEC Media Days here in Nashville next week. We'll get into all that. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
College football.
Another Tennessee touchdown.
Is
touchdown, Georgia.
Coming. Join us live from SEC Media Days in Nashville all next week for the news, interviews, and much more. On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN17. Use code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I'm looking for fuel injector cleaner.
Right now, buy a bottle of Chevron Techron Complete Fuel System Cleaner and get one free. Only at AutoZone.
Will it also help with my mileage?
Get everything you need to restore your performance in MPGs.
Get in zone.
Wait, is it good for trucks too?
Whatever vehicle you have, you can find the right products and parts at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Broken bricks, falling fences, damaged doors, Gorilla Glue. Of course. It's incredibly strong and 100% waterproof and bonds, well, virtually everything. While you're at it, look for Gorilla Tape, a heavy-duty double-thick duct tape, and Gorilla Super Glue, great for all your quick fixes and repairs. There's also Gorilla Epoxy, Gorilla Wood Glue, Gorilla Construction Adhesive, of course. You get it. If you can break it, Gorilla can fix it. For the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter, day one. Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but
Derek, let's Professor Derek.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here. Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning, talking a little college football. And to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend David Ubben from The Athletic. David, good morning, buddy. How we doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking time to be with us. We got SEC Media Days coming up in Nashville next week. It's Joe Rexrode's favorite event of the entire year, David. He's looking forward to it a lot.
Oh. I know when I can get a chance to interview someone and get canned answers along with 20 other reporters beside me and 1,000 other reporters in the room. That's what journalism is. You know, that's when the true work gets done. That's when we get down to the nitty-gritty of who people really are and what they really think. And, you don't get those opportunities every day. So who doesn't love SEC Media Day?
Ubben has already taunted me about the fact that he doesn't have to go
yes,
next week.
He's just holding it over your head.
I got to say, I missed it last year because I was on paternity leave. And this year, we're just not, a bunch of our national people are not going to many media days unless you live in the town. And I got to say, let's go for 3 in a row next year.
3P. That's right. So, David, obviously a lot going on this week with Northwestern, with Pat Fitzgerald and the hazing allegations, and now Pat Fitzgerald has been fired, and we'll see what happens with the lawsuit that's coming after that. But what do you make of just this whole situation, how it's gone down, and how Northwestern's administration has handled this, going from a 2-week suspension to ultimately firing Pat Fitzgerald?
Well, I think ultimately, I was surprised that, based on the details that came out over the weekend, it's not surprising, I guess, that you see a 2-week suspension during the deadest time of the year, and the key sort of victim in all of this decides to speak out. Obviously, he's very frustrated that he felt like the school wasn't taking it very seriously. I think it's frustrating also that the school doesn't want to make this report public. You could redact names, you could redact, any identifying information, and still make it so people can see what the school actually found. Because there's this idea, two things. One, that there's just this one disgruntled person that wants to take everyone down when they sort of released enough details that, hey, there were 2 people that complained. There's 11 people, I think, that corroborated that a lot of these facts were accurate. And so, I think when you get there and you say, how do you get to the point where you have a 2-week suspension? That doesn't really make sense. And why does, the president of the university talking to this kid all of a sudden, have such an impact on him? It doesn't really make sense, in terms of how you get there. But I think the initial punishment doesn't really make sense. Getting to the finish line, that makes a little bit more sense to me, where you got to make a coaching change. This is something that, hazing, I remember hearing about this happening. Hazing is such a wide spectrum that we don't really know. When you say that word, that could be a lot of different things, but the details that we heard, that's about as dehumanizing and humiliating as it gets, and that's the kind of hazing, even though it wasn't violent, that's the kind of hazing that probably needs to be out of the sport.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was talking about this the other day. Like I remember, stories like this in the '90s. And I'm not saying that Northwest is not an island, but it is still kind of jarring to see some of that stuff. But I agree, it's just incredible to see. Hey, let's do the news dump and a little dead period, little vacation. To no, you're fired with no new information, and then not taking questions from the players, and they botched it pretty badly. David, you and Max Olson had the story yesterday about the collective association, and this is, I believe, 7 collectives, correct, including Spire Sports Group, the Tennessee collective, that are trying to basically join forces here and try to. It's like everyone is trying to get some things, get their arms around things and. Get some things formalized and all this stuff. What is the impact of this move?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. I think the alliance has caused people to be very skeptical of any unofficial handshake deals in college sports. There's still some scar tissue from that one for anybody who thought that was a real thing. But ultimately, I think it's just people trying to get together. There's, I'm going to use the term that I cannot. People have got to stop using with NIL. But Wild Wild West, for better or worse, there is some truth to it. That there is a lot of lawlessness and not a lot of solutions and a lot of problems, and not a lot of uniformity and not a lot of people working toward that. Well, these collectives are on the ground. They're dealing with this stuff every day. They see themselves as industry leaders and experts because this is the world that they live in. So who better to help work for some solutions and sort of uniformity? And that's kind of what they're looking to do. Among that is offering some clarity. The first thing on their list is, hey, the NCAA says their rules count, but we have all these weird state laws that are all over the place. This is one of the reasons why they're pushing for a federal law, which I don't think they're going to get, but there's no uniformity. Well, okay, how do we operate within that? Giving collectives some answers is one of the things that they want to do. And then also, having a agent certification process was another one of the goals that they want to do. That's something that I think everybody's pretty united on that. There's a lot of disagreement in this world about what people should do or what should be next. But the fact that, Rexrode, if I was a college athlete and you wanted to be my agent, you could. You don't have to do anything. You say, hey, call them up. I'm your agent. Like, okay, well, that can be ripe for all kinds of problems and, unprofessionalness and just a million different things that can go wrong. So they want to have some certification process, a registry. I don't think that's about locking people out as much as just like, hey, let's make sure that we don't have like a lot of people taking advantage of them or any just guy that doesn't know what they're doing stepping in there. So that's kind of where they want to start. And then, of course, revenue sharing, what that looks like, I don't really know. Does that mean, hey, The schools are then, allowed to donate, $50 million every year of their revenue or whatever to the collective, and then that collective disperses the players. So it's not technically employees, but kind of. I don't know what that looks like, and that's, they don't know what that looks like, but they want to work toward that because, like most people who have some common sense, the schools collecting I want to say there were 5 schools that made over $200 million in revenue last year, and there are 49 schools that made over $100 million, and the players get 0 of that. That doesn't seem right. So I think they recognize that. And so what does that look like? We'll see.
David Ubben from The Athletic with us here on Robby and Rexrode. David, how intrigued are you by Deion Sanders and what this thing is going to look like in year 1 in Colorado?
Like most people, extremely. I mean, I'm pretty excited about the season. I think, I don't know how good they will be, but they will be interesting. And I think just the fact that, Deion himself is interesting enough, right? He's just a compelling personality. He sort of plays by his own rules. He's broken a lot of norms. And now you have this thing where he's trying to build a team in a way that literally no one has ever done before in the history of the sport. I think the numbers were, when they started spring, you can break down this roster clip any way you want, but I think one of the best ways, when they started spring, they had 51 scholarship players from last year's team. They now have 10.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's crazy. And so you go in, and I think you're going to have dozens of players from the portal that didn't participate in spring, and now you're going to try to build a team with them basically in one summer and a fall camp. I mean, that's crazy. So, I think there's also an element of you see a lot of confidence out of Colorado. I don't know how many times I've heard we coming in the last 9 months. Well, but you talk to coaches, every coach I've talked to is like, this is not going to work. This is going to be a disaster. Well, maybe, but I'm intrigued to see who's right. And, Deion, for all Deion has done, he hasn't had a lot of failure in his life. So he's either going to prove everybody right or prove everybody wrong. Or deal with some pretty spectacular failure in a way that he hasn't. And I think both of those scenarios are compelling. So I think whatever happens in Boulder is going to be interesting for me. Just as a person who loves college football, I'm going to be there a lot, and then I think most college football fans will be paying attention.
I was just going to say, are you possibly moving to Boulder here? I know you're going to be
I might
lot.
As well. I think I'm going to be. I will be in Boulder a lot this fall. I'll just say that at least the first month, and then we'll see kind of beyond that. But I'll be there. I'm going there next month for camp for a few days, and it's going to be interesting.
David, who is the best quarterback in the SEC?
That's a good question. I'm going to go off the board here, and I'm going to say Devin Leary.
I like that.
He's interesting.
He is.
I think a lot of people. I think KJ Jefferson gets a lot of those votes, and I think he's experienced. I think he's definitely put a lot of numbers up, and I think he could be a great player. But ultimately, I think there's going to be some struggles there with the offense change. Kendall Brow's out, Dan Enos back in. So I think that could be an issue. Will Rogers, okay. I think for me, it'd be between Devin Leary and Jaden Daniels.
No love for Joe Milton.
Michelle would love. Yeah, I know. Seriously, not one mention of Joe Milton.
I think Joe might get there. I think Joe. If I could bet on Joe Milton to be drafted higher than any other SEC quarterback, I probably would. But you got to prove it, And I think when the last time we really saw him, with the keys to the car, the Pitt game in 21 was probably the last time. And then, I like what I saw in the bowl game against Clemson, but you don't get a month to prepare, and you don't get to play Vandy every week. So we'll see. I think with Joe, certainly the potential is there. Anybody can see that. I think certainly, if he puts it all together, he could be that number one guy at the end of the year. But can you avoid the clunkers? Can you have the game, or can you avoid having the game where you just can't quite connect on the deep ball? That's the big question, because I think if Joe Milton is playing at his apex every single week, Tennessee can win 10 or 11 games. But I think he's probably got a couple bad games in there. I think Tennessee probably wins closer to 8 or 9, and I think that's that's kind of where they're at. But I think Devin Leary, with the amount of talent they have around him, the running game, you had Barry Brown, you had Dane Key. Most importantly, you get Liam Cohen back. They were really predictable last year under Rich Scangarello. So getting Liam Cohen back, I think, is huge for him, and that's a big reason why they're able to pull the best quarterback in the portal. Sleeper pick here, Connor Wegman, by the way.
I like it. David, really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. We're disappointed we're not going to see you next week, but congratulations to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy.
Absolutely. David Ubbin from The Athletic, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Coming up next, it is time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. We will do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Green right, Fox 2 run, double catch.
He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, take!
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher versus Hasim Rahman Jr., and many, many more. Misfits 008 tickets are available now, starting at $20 from Ticketmaster.com.
The Dell Technologies Black Friday in July event starts now with limited quantity deals on top business PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Plus, get special financing with Dell Business Credit. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to business customers by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Hey y'all, my name is Tiara, and a little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit is that it has the perfect amount of spice to jumpstart my day. Whoever thought of it, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Robert, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit is the biscuit. It reminds me of my grandma's homemade biscuit. It's always buttery and savory. Then you add the spices, instant classic.
Order the Spicy Chicken Biscuit on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real Chick-fil-A guests paid for their testimonials.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
I think, what was it Joe Burrow says? Work in the darkness. Work in the darkness. Don't take the phone. Like, let's just don't do the PK Subban in which PK would put up his workout videos, and I had somebody from the Preds tell me that they were joking that was the only working out that PK did, was the 30-second videos he put on Instagram. Don't do that. So I'm against it.
I mean, are you kidding me, dude?
What?
Like, this is in the world of your nothing burgers, and I mean, you have built a nothing burger empire. I mean, this one doesn't even have lettuce in it, man.
She asked the question how I felt about it, and I said, I think it's ridiculous.
You introduced this to the world. You decided, you know what? Let's do some segments on Will Levis's Instagram video. Like everybody in sports today doesn't do stupid Instagram videos of their workouts.
A little snippet from Jared versus Joe yesterday. It is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. Joe, after that wonderful back and forth, the floor is yours.
You know, sometimes you know how this happens to be a lot, writing something or saying something, and then later you think back and you're like, man, I wish I would have. Like, I totally should have made like a keto burger joke.
Oh, that was
like,
good.
this isn't even a keto burger.
Although I did,
nothing burger.
I did enjoy this one doesn't even have lettuce on it comment.
Yeah, that was
good.
okay.
It's pretty good.
It could have been better.
It could have been.
Well, I'm not going to rant about that. That was a nice taste of the world of Jared.
We are going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But, yeah, that was fun. What I am going to rant about real fast here is, the conversation. Let's go back to collectives, and I know that there's some glazing over of anybody's eyes. We talk about NIL and collectives and stuff like this. But, like, this is truly – it really is amazing for people who don't know what's going on. Like, school administrators are going to legislators in their states and basically like saying, let's craft a bill like that looks like this so that we can like have an advantage when it comes to NIL and collectives. Yeah. I mean, and the thing that's crazy about it to me is like, I mean, it's never been illegal for a booster to like some rich guy to give a college kid a car or money. You know what I mean? Like, that's never been illegal.
Right.
But then there's NCAA law. The NCAA is the schools. And I think it's always – I think so many people think about it like there's college sports and then there's this big, bad NCAA over here, and they're trying to tell us what to do. It's composed of the schools. It's member institutions, and they decide what their stupid rule book says.
Yes.
And, my God, it used to be the biggest book in the history of books, okay? And a lot of things have had to happen, and they've happened, and there's always going to be unintended consequences. But ultimately, you're in an organization. It does still exist, and you dictate the rules. So on one hand, it's like, okay, let's vote for this rule and this rule, that rule, okay? Like you all have an input on it. And then I'm going to go around to my state legislator and say, let's do this law so that we can do – it's just incredible, like the hypocrisy involved here, you know, with really like everybody. Again, like it's never like a lot of NCAA rules that have led to violations, that have led to punishments, they have nothing to do with the law. It's not illegal to do any of that stuff. So now all of a sudden, like it's
we're going to get the law involved.
Yeah,
you must be stupider than you look. Stupider like facts.
Nice. That Vinkin would like that one. So it's just, again, the circular nature of this whole thing really is amazing to me. For example, so the NCAA recently, they put out this statement, you know, basically like, by the way, it doesn't matter if it's legal in your state. If you change your state law, you're still in the NCAA. These are still rules, dude. I'm sorry. So meanwhile, Ross Bjork, you know, the Texas A&M AD, is like, well, we'll continue to communicate, but this is a quote from him, okay? Because Texas has like gone nuts, as of course they would. Texas, Oklahoma, states like this, they're doing everything they can to try to give, you know, their schools an edge. And one thing specifically the NCAA wrote is that like you can't give like, you know, tickets and sweets and stuff like that to incentivize donors to contribute to your collective. Like directly like, hey, man, get to our collective. Here. Well, in Texas, there's a new law that says, yes, you can do that. Okay. Well, the NCAA is saying, well, no, because, like, we have this law, we have this rule that says you can't, so here it is. So this is what Ross Bjork told ESPN last month. He said, quote, the state law is going to govern how we do business. We'll continue to communicate with the NCAA on a variety of matters. But in terms of this, the state law will reign, end quote. Yeah, again, it's just like, it's hilarious. Because, again, like, Ross, your school has a say. These rules are basically created by your school.
Right.
You help create them and craft them. Everybody has a faculty representative and everybody who has input on these things. And now, so it's your law, and you're like, but on the backside, it really is like having a nightclub and then you just go rob yourself, It's just, college sports is truly spectacularly, incredibly stupid. And also fantastic.
It is. At the same time.
It.
It's why we love it. And that example at Texas A&M was just hilarious to me. We'll be in communication with the NCAA. But,
we'll at the NCAA tournament, like we will use the NCAA cups that they give us. Yes. They have the branding on them, and that's probably about it. Thank you.
So, what do you think the fallout is from all that? Like, what do you think happens here if either programs or some programs, like in the state of Texas, or like if Alabama passes some law that makes it easier for money to go into the NIL, like what do you think is the fallout from all this with the NCAA in mind?
Well, obviously the new president, they're talking, and I agree with, like the idea that there's going to be some federal, overriding thing. I have a hard time buying that. It's going to come down to the question of, in this era, look, as Tennessee continues to wait for its punishment of trying to be more reasonable with punishments, things like that. Okay, do you still have any sort of, are you toothless, or can you still enforce anything? Can you still deter any behavior, right? The NCAA come out with this statement, tells me that they still intend to try to enforce these rules, so we'll see. Good luck.
It's really fascinating now to see what happens. I'm really, first off, college sports right now, I don't know if it's ever been more interesting than it is. And some people hate what this has turned into, and I get it. I really do. But it's very fascinating from conference realignment to NIL to now people just trying to have their state legislature make up laws so they can get an advantage in NIL. It's great. I love it.
It truly, it's just amazing. But and some of the things like Owen was talking about, like for example, I totally agree with let's how about certified agents?
Yeah, that would be great.
I think more and more that you can make it like pro sports, because it always has been. I think that's better, because there's so many people right now who are just trying to make a few bucks off some kids' backs.
The fact that Joe Milton could walk up to you
in there
and be like, Rexrode, you want to be my agent, and you could do it. It's kind of awesome.
I would, too.
I know you would. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. This has been the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. We'll get his thoughts on all things NFL. He'll join us from 8 to 8:30. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader, supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
The FedEx Cup playoffs start in Memphis at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Come out to TPC Southwind August 9th through the 13th and watch the PGA Tour's top players battle to make it through Memphis. Enjoy Memphis at its finest with specialty cocktails, local eats, a vibrant atmosphere, and much more. 2 kids 15 and under admitted free with a ticketed adult. Daily grounds and upgraded tickets are available now at FedExChampionship.com.
Election Day in Davidson County is August 3rd. Don't forget to cast your vote for mayor, vice mayor, at-large council members, district council members, and Tennessee House of Representatives District 51. This important election will help shape the future of our region. Early voting is from July 14th through 29th. If necessary, the runoff election will take place September 14th. For more information on registration, early voting, and polling locations, visit the link at thegamenashville.com.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN17. Use code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. This is Nick Keyser. Nashville SC lost their second consecutive match last night 2-0 against the Philadelphia Union. Head coach Gary Smith expressed his displeasure with one area of the game after the loss.
I think it was very, very easy for everyone to see in the crowd that this inexperienced referee, which is what he is, I think we looked and saw 10 games in MLS, looked way out of his depth here tonight.
And the ESPYs were last night. LeBron James won the best record-breaking performance, while Patrick Mahomes won best athlete in men's sports, and Liam Hendricks won the Jimmy V Perseverance Award. Meanwhile, the Nashville Sounds are back in action tomorrow evening after the All-Star break. On the road in Louisville, the first pitch is set for 6:15 p.m. Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. And as we do every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Charles, good morning. Rexrode is back from vacation. All is well in the world.
Look at us. Full house. July 13th. NFL season right around the corner. Well, training camp's right around the corner. This is great. I feel rejuvenated. Let's get into it.
That's right.
Do you really? Are you excited?
No, man. I'm dying. I'm still just trying to not have a sore throat for the first time in like 4 months. So
he's been powering through the last couple of weeks here on the show. Charles, we were talking about the running back situation earlier, particularly with Saquon Barkley, with the tag deadline coming up. Diana Rossini put it out there yesterday that the side is still at a stalemate, I think was the words that she used. How do you see this playing out with Saquon Barkley and the Giants, and how important do you think he is in particular to the success of that team?
Well, he ain't showing up. I can tell you that. Just talking to parties on both sides, I mean, I think the expectation, the surprise would be that Saquon would show up on time for training camp without a contract extension in place. I think my guess here, again, taking the temperature in each camp, is that Saquon's going to sit out for a bit, and we'll see how far ultimately he wants to take this. The Giants don't think he's going to miss any games, but that they are expecting at this stage that because of his unhappiness, he's going to miss some weeks of training camp, and I think they're okay with that. I mean, it's not, given that it's a veteran, given that the mileage that Saquon has, not always the worst thing on the face of the earth when a guy reports a little bit later. Obviously, if he were to take this into September and there are then games that are put in jeopardy, it's going to change pretty quickly. But as Diana reported, both sides are pretty dug in on this. Saquon wants a long-term extension. The Giants just aren't ready to do that. And I want to be careful about how I say this, but I kind of doubt that the Giants are really ever going to get close to getting toward the long-term extension that Saquon really ultimately wants. So I think if Saquon really seriously wants, and this is the number that's been out there, if he really wants $16 million a year, I don't think he's getting that from the Giants. And frankly, given his injury history, I don't think he's getting that anywhere else in the NFL as well, unless there's a really desperate party out there. Now, is he the centerpiece of the offense? Absolutely. Does he make Daniel Jones exponentially better? There's no doubt. But his injury history is what it is. And the Giants and every other team at this point are well aware of the sunken cost in running backs once it gets over a certain point. And $16 million, I've heard, the same number everyone else has, that the Giants got to $13 million. I don't know how real that really is in terms of APR or APY, the $13 million. I don't know how many incentives were involved in that digit, but most running backs are never going to get near $16 million a year nowadays, let alone someone with Saquon's injury history. I would expect the offense to struggle if he's not there once September rolls around. I think he will be there because I just, after Le'Veon Bell sitting out a full season, it's hard for me to believe any player is ever going to do that again. And it's not only did Le'Veon Bell cost himself 1 year of money, which he could never, ever get back, it was more that he just completely changed the trajectory of his entire career. And I think players have to be realistic about that. You don't want to change. You don't want to. Saquon's turned a corner here. You don't want to suddenly change that into a situation where he can never, ever, ever get back to this level again. And I think after seeing it happen to Le'Veon Bell, I think it's possible that could happen to Saquon as well.
Okay, so we've talked some today, and I know we've talked before, Charles, about just the plight of the running back, because it is astounding. Like, even just like that $16 million is some outrageous ask.
Even players are talking about it. Even running backs are like, it's who was it? I'm trying to think of who just came out. There was a running back, prominent running back in free agency. I'm losing my mind here trying to remember who it was, that said it sucks to be a running back right now. Most running backs, if you ask them, will tell you that. It's real. I think the players know it's real and teams know it's real, but that's just where the position is right now, and I don't think it's going to change. Yes, that's who it was, Miles Sanders. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so let's just this particular situation. Then, so ultimately he's going to play on the tag and then go somewhere else and make not that much money in 24. Is that? Is
two
that,
tags? He'll play
on the two. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'll tag him.
Tag him again.
If they get through this season with him, I think they would tag him twice. Now, is it possible that he earns the extension after the first tag? Yeah, I think it's possible. It all depends on if he's healthy an entire season, and he could put back-to-back seasons of good health on the table for them, and they feel like that window is open. I do think part of this too is the Giants are realistic about, is their Super Bowl window open right now? No, okay, and that's they're taking the right strides in the right direction, but it's also a franchise that poured a ton of money into Kenny Golladay. That was a huge mistake, and there was some reservations about that, and I think they're worried. Ownership is worried given the reality of what happens with injuries at running back. And again, Saquon can't get away from the fact that he's missed a large portion of his career due to significant injuries. And not only that, it is a diminishing running backs, just like running quarterbacks. There is a diminishing aspect of that position, the toll it takes, and it really honestly begins from day one. We had this conversation. I talked to the Ravens about this with Lamar Jackson, where it was like, hey, this huge component of his game began to diminish from his rookie year on, and that is running. The toll it takes on his body, if that's going to continue to be the centerpiece of his game, it's the sands of time have been already running on that, and we can't give him a contract based on that element of his game. It's the same for running backs. Running in the NFL for quarterbacks and running backs causes abuse, injury, and, as you get later in your 20s, it dramatically changes what you can do from a physical standpoint. Teams don't want to pay running quarterbacks. They want guys to augment their game and even it out over a longer timeline. They don't want to pay running backs because running backs run with the ball. We talked about McCaffrey before. He's different because you can use him in such a multitude of different ways. Saquon fits that, but the problem is, like McCaffrey, and I'm somewhat surprised McCaffrey got the deal he did, Saquon's got the injury history. McCaffrey had the injury history. McCaffrey just lucked out. I'll be honest with you. I don't think McCaffrey would ever get that deal a second time.
Charles, what about Ezekiel Elliott? How much interest do you think there is league-wide in him right now, given where he's at in his career? I think we know he's not going to make a ton of money with his next deal, but what do you make of the Zeke front?
He's a supplementary player right now, and I think that's where he is a rotational running back, which is worth less than a starting running. I mean, like if Saquon Barkley is sitting out there and can't get commitment, Ezekiel Elliott, again, we're talking about the diminishing returns. Look over the course of his career, it's clear as day. And I think the Cowboys are treating them like they know what he is. So every other team is looking from the outside in going, the Cowboys had him in house. Jerry Jones loves him. Absolutely there's a personal relationship there. But fiscally, the Cowboys are saying you're a second fiddle now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can still grind out a few more years in the NFL as a second fiddle, but you're not going to make – I mean, it's just go look at who are the second option contracts at running back, and that's significantly smaller than the starting centerpiece guys. I mean, you're probably talking, I don't know, $4 million a year if you're Ezekiel Elliott at this point, and I don't know what the escalators in the contract would look like. It has to be the right situation. I think that blows his mind. That's sort of the range that teams might be comfortable bringing him in at. And by the way, that's also on a very short-term deal. He's looking for the right situation where I think he's going to have an opportunity, and somewhat like DeAndre Hopkins, somewhat like Odell Beckham when they were going through their situations, the question becomes, what's the base, and then what can I earn on top of it? Odell Beckham Jr. got lucky. I mean, he landed a deal where he didn't need a ton of escalators to hit a big number. DeAndre Hopkins isn't in that situation right now. Teams don't want to give him that base. He's more in the Zeke camp. No one wants to give Zeke a realistic base. Maybe they'll roll out some escalators in a contract, but he is what he is at this point. He's a name, but interestingly enough, I think he's not quite in that zone that Des Bryant was when all of a sudden Dez was looking around. He's like, why can't I get a deal anywhere? How come no one wants to pay me like I'm number one Dez Bryant anymore? Because teams were looking at him, and they were saying, you can run 2 routes now in your career. We can pay you as a 2-route wide receiver. You're not a 5-route wide receiver, okay? You don't have the whole tree. You don't have the whole skill set. Zeke's in the same position. He's a very limited window player right now, and teams know that. And he knows that his opportunity is probably a running back getting hurt at some point in the next, 4 to 6 weeks.
We'll have more with Charles Robinson with Yahoo Sports coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds return from the All-Star break Friday at Louisville.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pregame at 6 o'clock.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Let's face it, talking about life insurance is never easy. But after we watched a close friend lose her husband with no insurance, we decided that wasn't going to happen to our family.
Yeah, but shopping for life insurance can be almost as difficult as talking about it.
But then we heard about Ethos Life Insurance. They're a new kind of life insurance, built for people on a busy schedule who don't have time for unnecessary doctor's visits, fine print, or hidden fees. You know, who want to keep it simple.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. We answered a few basic questions, and within minutes, we had an estimate of what it would cost and what sort of policy made sense for us.
I never imagined a life insurance could be so affordable.
And accessible.
The peace of mind knowing that our future is secure, it just removes a lot of the fear around getting older and...
Yeah, the unexpected.
I'm glad we talked about it.
I'm glad we went with ethoslife.com.
Go to getethos.com now for your free estimate. That's getethos.com. Getethos.com.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. And like us on Facebook, too. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We continue our conversation with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports joining us here on the program.
Charles, I wanted to ask you about the great work by Don Van Natta and Seth Wickersham on the Gruden the email leaks and the connection to Daniel Snyder. I mean, it's. I mean, the blackmail PowerPoint. That was something else from Snyder. But for those, so just to sum up, your takeaway from this entire saga, it's pretty amazing. The backstabbing.
Oh yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Like this is the palace intrigue with Dan Snyder, Roger Goodell. I mean, how close those two have been tied together at this stage. Is remarkable. As you said, Seth Wickersham, Don Van Natta did fantastic work. I mean, this is at this point, it's like one volume after another that they continue to crank out on Dan Snyder. But there's so many tentacles to this thing, and obviously, so this last piece really. So for people who haven't read it, it centers on the Gruden email leaks, how those ultimately brought down Dan Snyder and facilitated basically his ouster ultimately by the NFL, but it's sort of like, who leaked these? Was it the NFL? Was it Rock Nation, which obviously has a partnership with the NFL and the CEO at Rock Nation also has a close relationship with Dan Snyder. Was it D. Smith at the Union? I mean, it's just. It's interesting because I remember in the reporting on this, when it all came out, we all sort of, as reporters, went through all the different iterations. We were like, it had to be D. Smith because, the D. Smith email, which obviously it contained a racist trope, happened right on the verge of him potentially getting voted back in as the executive director of the NFLPA. And in the wake of it, he did win back that position by like one vote, and so it felt like it had sway over that. So it was like, well, D. Smith must have leaked this to help himself. Then it was, no, it was the league and Roger Goodell because they wanted, to get rid of Gruden, who had been sort of a thorn in their side for a while. No, it was Dan Snyder. He did it because he wanted to embarrass Bruce Allen, the former Washington executive, and also take the spotlight away from them. So you go through the multitude of people it could have been to leak this, and what I took away from it, it was sort of like, it felt like the five families all came together to make this happen. Like to me, I was like, it feels like everybody had a little bit to do with this. Maybe Roger Goodell looked the other way. Maybe DeMaurice Smith did have his hands on the one particular email that could help himself. Maybe Dan Snyder absolutely, or Rock Nation absolutely saw an opportunity here to roll out an email to take away some of the negative spotlight on Dan Snyder. But I'll give you kind of an interesting little nugget here that wasn't in the story, but in my mind it triggered because I've done work on Dan Snyder before. In the story, ESPN talks about the two waves of email leaks. One was the Wall Street Journal, which initially came out with the DeMaurice Smith email leak, and then the second one was the New York Times. And I remember the New York Times was more expansive, it was a multitude of emails. And I remember when that New York Times story came out, and there was a Metro reporter on the byline. And I was like, this, especially I've done investigative for a number of years, and you're always trying to figure out who sources are in these situations because you want to chase the story yourself. But when I saw the Metro reporter pop up, I'm like, that's not a sports reporter. Why would a Metro reporter pop up on a New York Times byline about Dan Snyder with leaked emails? So, of course, what do? You go back and you start to look. Are there ties here? Did this Metro reporter at some point report on Dan Snyder, someone close to Dan Snyder? Lo and behold, yes, there is some connection in the archives between this Metro reporter and Rock Nation. And, Rock Nation, again, was, close to Dan Snyder. The CEO of Rock Nation was sitting on the Washington Commanders board and whatnot. Well, the reason why the light bulb went off in my head was I remember years ago when Scott McCloughan, the general manager then of Washington, got ousted. The Washington Post ran a multiple byline that had all these really dirty, nasty inside details about Scott McCloughan at that time. And in the middle of the byline was a Metro reporter from the Washington Post. Now, at that time, I knew Dan Snyder wasn't talking to the Post sports staff. He hated the Washington Post sports staff. So I'm like, they have all these inside details. it must be coming from someone else that's not Dan Snyder. But here's this name of this Metro reporter. Who is this person? So I go back and start digging through. Lo and behold, this Metro reporter had done some reporting. I think it was on like stadium finance. And who is in the middle of their story? Dan Snyder. And I think he was even quoted directly by this Metro reporter. Now, conspiracy theory on my part, but I will say this feels awfully familiar when you see two non-sports reporters pop out on a massive byline, on a massive story, and they have these buried ties to Dan Snyder. It sure seems, and I've, had sourcing before where maybe I'm not involved, with a certain owner, a certain player, whatever, but we've crossed paths a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago on something completely ancillary, and you're somehow able to burrow into a story because you have this tie from long ago. To me, I'm like, man, it kind of feels like the McLuhan situation where it felt a little bit like maybe Dan Snyder was the connection to this Metro reporter and rolled out details because he wouldn't talk to the sports staff, sort of like this situation where a New York Times Metro reporter who really has no business reporting on this kind of a story about Dan Snyder suddenly appears on a byline. What that does is it points toward Dan Snyder, who says, I didn't leak it, I didn't have anything to do with it. And the reason why it matters, whether or not Dan Snyder leaked this stuff, is a liability because there's the John Gruden lawsuit right now. It's sitting in Nevada. The Supreme Court's going to decide whether or not, the Nevada Supreme Court's going to decide whether or not this moves forward. And if it does move forward, John Gruden stands to make a heck of a lot of money potentially in damages based on the fallout, losing his job, however you feel about that. Someone's going to have to pay for that. Maybe it's the NFL. Maybe it's Dan Snyder. Whoever leaked the emails is going to have to pay for that. And if Dan Snyder is potentially liable in this situation and he doesn't want to pay those damages, who's going to pay it? The Harris Group? The new owners of Washington? I mean, someone's going to have to pay that money. And, I think the Washington Post has done some good stuff on this recently about, like, hey, this might be screwing up the sale of the Washington franchise right now. Who leaked these emails and who might ultimately be held liable in the court of law and damages. So it's super fascinating. We could talk about this for days after that story came out. I'm very, very intrigued by this one.
Yep, really interesting, no question about it. Charles, last thing here for you, a couple of different media to ask you about. What do you make of the quarterback documentary that's now come out on Netflix? How intrigued are you by that? And the Jets officially now on Hard Knocks, as we discussed last week.
The quarterback documentary, I think it's really interesting. I think you really you're centering it on three guys who are in three completely different situations, and it's part of what I think is interesting, particularly the Mahomes stuff. Or you look at the three quarterbacks and you learn something, I think, a little bit at least, and again, I've only seen 2 episodes of it so far. You learn a little bit about why quarterbacks get to the place of where they are. And as I watched it, I'm like, man, I'm sitting here and I'm watching Mariota, and you're asking yourself, like, why has it not worked out for him? Is it just skill set or whatever? And then I listen to him and I watch him going through what he's going through. And it felt like this guy is just desperate to hold on. He doesn't have the same skill set, whatever. And then I look at Mahomes and I'm like, he's got all the skill in the world, and it opens up these avenues to him competitively that maybe these other quarterbacks don't have. And it was when I saw Mahomes just going off in that game against, Max Crosby, like basically kind of losing his mind. And I'm like, competitively, there's something different there, and he's able to do that, where I could never see Mariota doing that because he just doesn't have the capital, doesn't have the arm, he doesn't have the skill set. He's just trying to hold on, whereas Mahomes is able to reach for something else competitively that Mariota can't. It's a fascinating kind of inside look at why quarterbacks get to where they are and sort of how they operate. The Jets and Hard Knocks, I mean, come on. It's like this. We knew there was no doubt. Like that at the point in the NFL was like, all right, well, we got to make a choice here, and the Jets are on the table. We can force them. They were going to do it. I mean, and thank God. I appreciate the NFL stepping to the plate on this one because I do want to see, what this looks like inside with Rodgers. I'm curious to see what the Zach Wilson-Rodgers dynamic looks like. I'll be going through there later in August, probably after Hard Knocks is wrapped at that point. But very, very curious to see just the inner workings of how this Rodgers stuff unfolds. And that means it'll probably be terribly boring, which sucks.
Yeah. It won't touch the Rex Ryan Jets Hard Knocks.
Bad, right? What's that?
It won't touch the Rex Ryan Jets Hard Knocks. I mean, that's like the gold
No,
standard.
I don't. I mean, or the Browns. I mean, the Browns to me, just because of the stuff that was allowed in, where like you're just like, why would you not take that out? You're like warring with your coaches. Like this is awesome. I mean, it'll probably never touch that stuff, but I have high hopes. So let's cross our fingers on this one.
Charles, great to talk to you as always. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good, fellas. Take care.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll react to what Charles had to say there. I had a lot to react to there from Charles Robinson. We'll get to part of Jared and Joe's conversation on Jared versus Joe yesterday as well. Rexrode, very excited to get to that. All that coming up. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Let's face it, talking about life insurance is never easy. But after we watched a close friend lose her husband with no insurance, we decided that wasn't going to happen to our family.
Yeah, but shopping for life insurance can be almost as difficult as talking about it.
But then we heard about Ethos Life Insurance. They're a new kind of life insurance, built for people on a busy schedule who don't have time for unnecessary doctor's visits, fine print, or hidden fees. Who want to keep it simple.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. We answered a few basic questions, and within minutes, we had an estimate of what it would cost and what sort of policy made sense for us.
I never imagined a life insurance could be so affordable.
And accessible.
The peace of mind knowing that our future is secure, it just removes a lot of the fear around getting older and...
Yeah, the unexpected.
I'm glad we talked about it.
I'm glad we went with ethoslife.com.
Go to getethos.com now for your free estimate. That's getethos.com. Getethos.com.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is something called Testofen, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text HUNK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text HUNK to 42424. That's HUNK to 42424.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See, we didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
With summer in full swing, now's the perfect time to head to the ballpark.
Score great deals on great seats from our friends at Vivid Seats, the official ticketing partner of ESPN. Every crack of the bat, every diving catch, every heart-pounding play. Experience it live, in person, from the first pitch to the final inning. Vivid Seats has a huge selection of MLB tickets, and they're the only ticket company that rewards your purchases. For the best selection of 2023, shop now. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live.
Sometimes it's good to be loud.
This is the NFL.
Especially when you're Jared Stillman.
That's where we are.
He's not afraid to say what's on his mind each and every day.
That was embarrassing. I don't care if you're a rookie. That was embarrassing.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Right.
So again, Jared. No, I agree with what he said. The cockiness, the brashness on the field. Now, you beat people. Everybody thought he was QB1 a year ago, right? That's all fine. You're talking about, he's got a Pete Rose jersey and he's your stuff that you've isolated here is not part of the conversation. It never has been. And you're making it up, and you're fabricating it. So good job.
I'm not making anything up. He wore the jersey.
Dude, none of this stuff backs up your garbage that we are now wasting our time talking about today.
That was a little Jared versus Joe yesterday. Another victory for Rexrode in the competition. We'll have Jared on the program tomorrow at 7 o'clock. So looking forward to that. But a lot of discussion about Will Levis and the Instagram Live videos that he had the other day of him working out, throwing the football around. He happened to be wearing a Pete Rose jersey during one of those workouts. And Jared is taking some time to offer his thoughts on that.
Yeah, so
not a huge fan of it, apparently.
Well, so let me go to you on this.
Okay.
So first of all, this was another again classic example. I interrupted Jared, and we don't want to replay the whole thing, but I interrupted Jared because he said something like social media is why he fell in the draft, right? Like there is social media videos, which of course certainly got a lot of conversation. And that was my initial argument. Like, wait, you're saying social media made him plummet in the draft? And then we got into, and then he comes in and says, he brings in 3 audio clips. What, Charles Davis?
I think Rich Gannon was one of them, right?
Rich Gannon and somebody else, and they all said,
is Rich Gannon still talking about his mom and sister?
Yeah, it wasn't that Gannon.
Well, that's good. Well, I think he did bring that up though.
Yeah, which again, and rightfully, making fun of that because it's ridiculous. But the 3 examples he brought up were all the general ideas about personality. Again, no one is arguing that personality wasn't a big part of the discussion with Will Levis. But let me just ask you,
okay,
what are the things about Will Levis that you think concerned people and had an impact on the conversation around him during the draft and his draft status? I mean, we've talked about all this exhaustively, but just right now, let's review your thoughts, Robby Stanley, on that.
Well, mine has always started with the turnovers, right? He turns the football over a lot.
Right.
And
it's football more than personality.
Yeah, right.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
I would agree. It's foot now. I have no idea how his interviews went, right? Whatever. I'm sure when you're interviewing with as many teams as these quarterbacks interview with, I'm sure that sometimes other teams come away liking you more than some other teams will. That happens. It's just personality fit, all those things. I have no clue what Will Levis was like during those interviews, but to me, it's about the tape on the field, and there's a wide variety of opinion on him, and from that standpoint, anyway. So to me, it's that.
Right. You start with that. Now, I agree. Personality at large was of course it was a part of the discussion. Some of it was silly. Some of it, like you said, I don't know all the interviews of what all happened. Again, the thing that he did wrong here that sent this into another ridiculous discussion is mischaracterizing, or I guess just misjudging, that the personality concerns for people were about him not being into football, I guess, because I think that's isn't that not what he's saying? You're too into your brand. And he cited, it's funny because the Levis question at the Manning camp,
right,
which, by the way, was about a kid who was going back to school who was trying to make NIL money, as anybody else in that position would be. it was actually a good question about, separating those two things. And then Eli made a joke, Peyton did every commercial. He'd do all the commercials. Yeah, whatever. But Jared somehow takes that as, I guess, confirmation that Levis is too image obsessed. Levis not being into football, not being a leader, being image obsessed, not part of any of the discussion about him. The personality questions now, and Charles brought this up before.
Yeah,
is the word entitlement,
right?
Okay, and like cockiness and all that stuff. That's fine. Yeah, sure. That has been brought up now. I know with entitlement and everything, there's, look, there's a lot about the whole draft process that I know people in Levis's camp not happy with some of the stuff that got introduced. But still, regardless, I think it's clear some teams didn't like him. Also, by the way, the Titans did. Also, by the way, let's talk about it over and over again. The guy was immediately embraced by teammates and led that team weeks after arriving in Lexington. And you can't find anybody who's going to tell you that anybody works harder than him or is better with teammates in a locker room leadership position than him, et cetera, et cetera. He's super type A. That's totally different than this concocted Instagram garbage.
When you say stuff like that, it just makes you sound so dumb.
Well, it's good to hear that voice again.
That was great. I love that one.
It is. Yeah, look, the Instagram stuff is hilarious to me. I mean, it's 2023. Like it or not, like people just, I mean, they Instagram live themselves walking around the grocery store now, picking up groceries. It's like what people do. So I don't care that Will Levis was out there on Instagram live throwing the football around. It does not bother me in the slightest. Honestly, had Jared not mentioned it, I would have never even thought about it if any of this other stuff was going on with Will Levis.
Right, and again, if it bothers Jared, fine. If it bothers someone listening right now, then that's fine. You can be bothered by it. My argument, and the thing that got me so upset is, again, that's just not – that aspect of personality was not part of the discussion. I mean, again, I go back to the story that I wrote in May, which, of course, Jared, I talked to his parents. No. I talked to people from Kentucky, talked to people in this organization, talked to a lot of different people. Yes, including his family. But to try to figure out, okay, so what's his personality? Like, what is this kid about? I think that that's why I led with, he is the kid. I mean, this is his quote, okay? Here's the quote from Levis. Quote, I was a pain in the ass growing up. I was a kid who was always, throwing my bat in the duck out of striking out Little League. He's the kid who's an awesome athlete, who's also cocky, who talks trash, and who, if he loses, he absolutely melts down.
Yep.
No doubt. That's him. So if you're against him, if you're a Tennessee Vols fan who watched 2 years of your team going against him, you hate his guts. And I totally get it. And the Hasselbeck quote is, I think, the big thing here. First of all, Hasselbeck was super impressed with him on a variety of fronts, is a huge fan of his after spending time with him. But and I'm trying to find it here, but here you go. Here's a quote from Hasselbeck. We've discussed all this, but let's review. Quote, you could tell he wanted it, and maybe that was a knock a little bit. He wants it so bad. He wants it so bad that maybe that turns some people off, end quote. And understand that Matt Hasselbeck talked to a lot of those people too. Right. He wasn't just around Levis. He understands the conversation around Levis. That is, and I can see that. Sometimes, someone's just in your face and I want it so bad. I can get how maybe that could turn some people off. But, dude, come on. Everybody does the Instagram stuff, don't they?
Yes.
I mean, it's great that Tom Brady, whatever, it was a tire swing, and great. I mean, Otto Graham, he didn't even watch his black and white television when he was working out in the offseason. By golly, he had a haircut you could set your watch to. Great. Who cares?
I mean, Derrick Henry's got it looks like a camera crew in there sometimes
right.
when he's in there.
But he's right, exactly. But no one would ever rip on that, right? Get out of here.
You got somebody underneath the bench as he's lifting up all these chains, bench pressing.
You got
running up the hill.
A different camera for every muscle, and he has 973 muscles just in his right arm.
I'm talking about your clothes.
Jared Stillman, Dennis Burnside has tweeted in a Nice photo of Jared Stillman's Nothing Burger Empire that Joe Rexrode created a term for later. We'll retweet that at 1025 The Game and at RS Stanley NHL on Twitter. Beautiful stuff, Dennis.
Dennis has done a lot of amazing stuff. That is one of my favorites.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
If you could just put like the keto burger in there somewhere, just lettuce, no bun.
Oh, yeah. Be great. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on the Titans, on Will Levis. And I have some tickets to give away, a pair of tickets to see Erykah Badu at Bridgestone Arena on July 18th. Be caller number 5, 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
Whether it's college football,
players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia,
or the NFL,
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman and Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. Get up to 50% off in every department. Don't miss a TCL 65-inch Roku TV for only $349, or an LG laundry pair for just $499 each. Save on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, and more. Get an Acer Aspire laptop for just $199, or a Ring Video doorbell for only $149. Get up to 5 years special financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 106.3 The Game, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, helping home buyers and sellers in Middle Tennessee for 20 years. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook, live from our 1025 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. By the way, we talked about this earlier in the show, but the betting odds for DeAndre Hopkins, they have shifted from plus 500 on Tuesday, minus 300 was the odds yesterday for DeAndre Hopkins landing with the Tennessee Titans. So that's a pretty big shift in one day, Joe Rexrode. And you think it comes from the Michael Lombardi comments on his podcast?
That's just my guess. What he said and then the reaction to what he said. I could be wrong. There could be something more to it. Sometimes there's something more to it.
Was DeAndre spotted in a sports book wearing a Titans jersey or like a Titans bag? Do we know?
See, maybe. I don't know.
Spotted at the airport?
Could be.
Did he become good friends with Tim McGraw?
House shopping with Zach Wilson, who apparently is moving to Brentwood, too,
maybe
for some weird reason. But
is that going to be on Hard Knocks? Zach Wilson wandering about the streets of Brentwood?
Zach Wilson's social life needs to be on Hard Knocks, one way or the other.
Probably does.
Well,
or maybe not.
Edited version. But I think the Hopkins thing is probably just reaction to that. It's just my guess. I mean, these things can sometimes be flipped on their ear by really minor things. And again, sometimes sometimes Vegas knows.
Yes.
But for those who don't know it, we reviewed this earlier. If you were going to bet, you had $100 and you were going to bet it on DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans, and you would place that bet, sometime yesterday or the day before, or earlier yesterday or whatever, you could have made $500 on the $100 bet. Now, if you take that $100 and bet it, I believe you'd make like $33. So
big difference.
Yeah, that is a big difference.
Should have got it Tuesday.
My math is correct on that, right?
I think
so.
Go look at
I think that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you got. Well, if you're right, if it's going to happen,
yeah.
Are we getting into the just territory of foregone conclusion that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a Titan?
So. I don't think so. I mean, I'm not willing to go foregone conclusion. I do think they're the favorite. I think at this point, and I think this is beyond just us having a show in Nashville and the Titans are the team we talk about a lot. Like I just think if you're being honest with yourself, if you're DeAndre Hopkins looking at the two situations right now, like the Titans just make more sense. They've offered more money, they got a better quarterback, and you got a better shot to win your division. I mean, it just makes more sense if you are looking at things that way. So unless another team gets in the mix, I think it's absolutely fair to call the Titans the favorite right now. But then some people are asking, well, if that's the case, why hadn't he signed yet? And I get it. I get the question.
I did it too, but I think I gave the answer weeks ago. Like, this is going to go into camp because he's hoping that there's a team out there that all of a sudden is in a situation that they have to overpay big time for him, which does happen sometimes. It's possible.
Yeah.
So, and maybe not. Maybe he's just like, well, let's just see it through to camp, and maybe someone else will emerge. Maybe someone will come close, but it's a better – I like the situation better chance to win, better offense, better – whatever. Let's hold it. There's no reason to do this until camp, right?
I mean, I wouldn't think so. It's just – I also wonder, like, if you're him, are you getting nervous a little bit? Like, the offers out there, are when they're not coming the way that you want them to start coming, how do you reconcile that if you're a DeAndre Hopkins? Because I still deep down wonder how much of him really wants to be on a Super Bowl team, and he's hoping that like a Kansas City frees up money and he gets the best of both worlds with money that's close enough and also a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, look, it may be money number one, which is fine, but whatever happened last year with the Cardinals, it was just hurt. He was just hurt, but if he wasn't totally hurt and he could have gone for, you start losing interest, right?
Right.
So, I mean, everybody wants to win. He wants to. So, yeah, I'm sure that if there was a better situation, more of a contender, and they're in the neighborhood, then they would have a chance. If it's like the Titans' offer is up here and then everybody else is not close, then I think it's going to be the Titans.
I think so, too. And then – we talked about the newcomers earlier, maybe the newcomers that could have the biggest impact. Would your answer change if it's DeAndre Hopkins? Would you go from Skoronski to Hopkins at that point? Or are you still going Skoronski?
I really want to stick with the interior offensive line.
I know you do.
Just to be stubborn. Yeah, I mean, I guess Hopkins would probably be a pretty good answer there. I mean, he's going to get a lot of targets, a lot of opportunity if he comes here. Assuming he's healthy and is ready to go and all that stuff.
I mean, you said earlier you were skeptical as to how that would work out for the Titans.
Well, it's the same thing. I'll go back to, like, Easton Freeze put together that nice – I think he put it together. He didn't just, like, retweet it, right? He put together highlights of him last year. It looked good. But you can, believe me, go back to the 2020 season with Julio Jones when he played like 8 or 9 games or whatever. You can find all the same stuff from him too. He was spectacular. He looked like Julio Jones when he played. And for the first time in his career, he had an injury that actually cost him significant time.
Right.
And then we saw what happened here. It just wouldn't leave him alone, and now he's trying to hang on in the league. It happens fast. And I just worry with Hopkins that it's going to be the same kind of thing, that you add everything together. There's a PED suspension. You can explain away whatever you want. You could talk about last year and say, really, it was just dysfunctional there, and he wanted, whatever it is. He's at a certain age. He's gone through all these things. There is an injury. There is a PED suspension, and he did miss a lot of time, and he produced when he didn't, when he wasn't hurt, just like Julio did in 2020. So it's hard for me not to look at it in a little bit different light after Julio Jones, even though they're totally different people.
Hey, Julio's still out there, man.
He's
get the best
right?
of both worlds. Yeah. You get Julio real cheap.
Sign them both.
Hopkins outside. Julio, you can just move him around. Use him on third down every now and then.
I like it.
He could be your number 5 receiver. Julio! We need you to run a slant. Can you do that?
Can you beat out Racing McMath, the next Julio Jones?
It all comes full circle. The reclamation product of Julio Jones there in Nashville. Galladay's still out there. Jarvis Landry's still out there.
I mean, Galladay, what a great example.
Oh, man.
Just, I don't know what the heck. He fell off a table.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was really good with the horrific Lions. And he goes to the Giants, and it's just like he can barely play in the league.
Your boy Marcus Johnson's still out there. Cody Hollister still available.
Man, what an all-star cast of former Titans receivers.
Just out there and available.
What about Tajay Sharp? Is he still an NFL player?
I don't.
I mean, the Titans need to bring Tajay Sharp back so that we can totally botch Tajay Spears and Tajay Sharp.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Doesn't he play for? No, he's a free agent. He's out there.
Bring him back. Come on. It's an incredible cast of characters. What about Ferkser? Is Ferkser a free agent, or is he signed somewhere?
I mean,
I think he's out there, right?
Anthony Ferkser is he's with the Patriots. How about that?
Okay. I can't believe it's not the
How
Falcons.
many freaking tight ends do the Patriots have?
Belichick is just all in on the tight ends.
Good gracious. Jonnu? He's in Atlanta.
But now they got Gesicki to go with Henry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, with Hopkins, like the Patriots, Titans, and we've done the comparison a lot, but that's another thing is like they actually do have more people who should get some targets.
They do.
Than the Titans.
They do.
Along with a worse quarterback. I can't believe anybody could objectively argue that point.
And that should help the Titans' case too, right? Is you're going to get the football thrown your way more here in Nashville.
Absolutely. And but that's the thing too, is you may on the other side have a young difference maker who also, now you can complement and work off each other. It seems easy to me.
Well, it seems easy to me too. Like the conversation nationally, and I have no idea how DeAndre Hopkins views Ryan Tannehill, but some of this, like the reporting around this, is like it's Mac Jones and Ryan Tannehill, so it's like the same quarterback level. If you're DeAndre Hopkins, I'm like, huh? Have y'all watched them play football? It's not the same.
It's crazy to me. I mean, after last year, Matt Jones may end up being like a 3-year starter in the NFL.
I thought he was going to lose his starting job last year.
Right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he'll bounce back, but off last year, I understand that Ryan Tannehill's not a top 10 QB, but God, it's wild.
It is very wild. Yeah, I got a texter that says, I hear you, Joe, but Julio's injury was a hamstring. We all know soft tissues injuries linger. Hopkins was a knee. So he's not concerned about Hopkins. Over the knee injury.
Just a knee, man. Just a knee. Those are fine. But it is true. Soft tissue, and he came to the place with the soft tissue injury virus.
He did.
So.
It was a bad combination. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. Ryan O'Reilly speaking later today, so we'll react to that coming up tomorrow. The Chase McCabe Show is up next. Good gracious. This is 102.5